Good, should be working now. Sorry about that. Thank you for that one. Yeah, thank you. Thanks for saying no voice. I'll start again with my presentation. So yeah, that's that we've got through there. It's every time my computer updates, it actually it no longer stops. My microphone gets turned off for whatever reason. It's a pain in the bum, and it did actually update overnight. So, welcome, guys. We're going to be looking at Field of Glory Kingdoms today, of course. This is going to be a fairly long presentation. I do want to sort of thank Stardock, I wanted to thank Slytherin for actually sponsoring this stream. So, wrong company. Right game, but wrong company. And also, I do want to also just point out there is actually a link that I've stickied if you're watching this on YouTube. Also, it's in the description, and it's also in the description there for on Twitch as well. Now, I'm a bit thrown out now that we've sort of had lost the sound. I've been looking at the actual game itself, as in questions that people actually have for the game. So I'm going to be trying to approach it as in, like, how do you actually play the game, like if you're new to the game, or if you don't think that you particularly like the game, maybe it's something that you sort of just the approach to it can be a little bit different. Also, there's a lot of people who come from Crusader Kings and actually sort of wonder where this fits in this grand scheme of things against Crusader Kings, so we'll have a look at that as well. We also have, of course, the new DLC which just launched a few hours ago, so we'll have a really, really close look at that. Plus, even as exciting as the DLC is actually a free update as well, which brings some amazing changes to the game. So if you haven't played the game for a little while, even if you haven't played the game for 2 days, then grab it and load it up again, because the actual changes, as I said before, in the actual update are fairly substantial. So the plan for me today is to mainly just go through what the different changes are, to sort of show that initially. And this will be a fairly long stream, I think. And then we'll start to actually play the game. So just a little bit of time up top. So if you are watching this after the live stream is finished, you may want to zip forward a little bit if you're just wanting to see gameplay. But other than that, we'll just go through the various changes, the things that actually are added. So let's just get straight into it. Oh, by the way, I have actually, we were talking about this the other day, and we are talking about that the font can be a little bit difficult to read. So I have, for your viewing pleasure, changed the font. It's actually not too difficult to do. So I'm just in the middle of tweaking this at the moment. Hopefully it'll be a little bit easier to read while actually sort of with the recording. So we'll just give that a bit of a test as well. If this sort of works out okay, and I'm quite liking where this is sort of heading, once I sort of tweak this a little bit, I will actually probably just release this onto my coffee.com page as well as a free download, a free mod for changing the font in the game. It's fairly simple to do it. So I've actually gotten rid of all of the serif fonts and now put it into a sans serif font. It's a little bit tricky getting it to be still legible, so I'm still I've been experimenting a fair amount this morning to sort of get that one sort of working. So what do we end up getting with the DLC? Let's start with the DLC and then we'll sort of work our way forward. Well, you've still got the same old grand campaign through here with some of the changes that have come from the DLC. If you've got the DLC, will still be applicable in the grand campaign, just a few things. But typically, if you are really wanting to play with the DLC components, you'd be wanting to go and play the expanded campaign. Or you have the Guelphs and Ghibellines, which is actually, this is now based in Italy. So this is actually sort of a from 1154 to 1162. So 32 seasonal turns, which means essentially every 4 months is a turn. Typically in the grand campaigns, it's every 6 months. But often in these smaller campaigns, we end up with sort of a much tighter sort of faction. And so this one essentially just goes through the various sort of histories around that sort of Italian aspect. So for 2 centuries, Italy is torn apart by a series of conflicts fueled by the rivalry between the Guelphs and the Ghibellines. These factions, actually, I might even open these up just so you can sort of see what they look like. So we'll just, I won't play these, but we'll just go and just go select. So I hope the font isn't off-putting for you guys. So hi William and Louise and Bilko, and we've got Batfink. Thank you also Daniel as well for just mentioning that there was no microphone sound. Hi Grognerd, how are you going? And Union ID. So there we are. So this one here, what we end up having is just a very, very contained map. back and through here as well, where you've got like a lot of different forces. We're now starting to sort of see knights on horseback with the different, and we'll have a look at this when we get into, when I sort of explain how to maybe approach the game if you are new to the game, things to look for and how things can then sort of be developed. Quite often actually seeing what the characters are that you're watching through here will give you some good clues as to what the game is going to be like in terms of the fun aspects of the different types of units that you then are going to be able to bring to bear, to a degree anyway. So anyway, you can see it's fairly compressed. This is really just mainly around the Papal States and in the northern areas of the game. I did actually see that there was a question. Someone asked, "Can you play as the Papal States?" No, you actually can't. So that's actually one thing in the game that there's a few areas that you can't play, but there are a lot, and we'll go through this when we look at the grand campaign. There are so many different ways to actually to play the game. There's a hell of a lot. You can see through here, for example, this is a fractious empire for the Holy Roman Empire. A lot of these smaller areas, like Tuscany, is just going to be a municipality. Municipality back and through here. Actually, these are all just municipalities, which will actually have a bearing on how they play. Like, in fact, all of these are. What about some of these? Bavaria, Duchy, and these aspects we end up sort of seeing through here. That one's. Why can't we play as that one? Not sure why we're not. That's not sort of clicking back in. It's just stuck with Bavaria. Got Sicily down the bottom through there. Yeah, these are the little areas, a county. So, for example, in this particular scenario, they've actually just changed the, essentially the style of government type that you've actually then got with these particular ones. But anyway, I'm not going to spend too much time with these actual ones. So that's the Guelphs and Ghibellines. You also end up with Alexander Nevsky, which is fairly interesting. This is probably one of the smallest of the actual campaigns as such. And so this one here is from 1236 to 1246, so 10 years. 40 seasonal turns, again, every turn being 3 months. Complexity 3 of 5, length 3 of 5, so it's not very long. What is Guelphs and Ghibellines? Yeah, that's 3 of 5 as well. This is a expert scenario. This one here is not really all that difficult to actually get into play. So this one could be a good one to play if you are even just trying to learn the game, to be honest. I mean, there's some very, very good ones, like the El Cid one from 1087 to 1097. Is an interesting little one as an introductory scenario, and so it's this is a good one to learn the game on. But we'll just go through. Alexander Nevsky is with the DLC. We'll just go and open this one up so you can have a look and see. So Engine is in saying, "Got to take Bologna for the ragu." Yeah, that's funny. There was this thing, the DLC doesn't change anything on the base game, right? No, it doesn't. I mean, it does, actually. I'll see if I can find it. There's a few little things that have been sort of added. If you've got the DLC, I think that there's some things that you can do. I don't know if it's in the base game without the DLC, but I did notice something there the other day. I'll see if I can find it when we have a bit of a look. So in this one here, you're playing as either Novgorod, back over through here, sort of like, so the sort of Russian states. And again, if you're having a look at the different characters, you're sort of seeing not very advanced characters for the Novgorod forces, Podolsk as well. Again, you're going to sort of have these almost like these proto-tribal, these are city-states back and through here, but you've got almost like a tribal aspect to them, playing this particular one. You've got the Teutonic Knights, which are, of course, are going to have quite advanced forces back and through here as well, and you're going to have other forces banking through this other side as well. So these are going to be more advanced armies. Then you've got Denmark, or Danemark in this case, again a bit more advanced, and Sweden as well, which should be fairly advanced in through there as well. So you're sort of seeing the armour and the sort of style of weaponry for those different forces, whereas when you're looking at the more Russian style forces, you're looking at much lighter forces in the sense of the way that they are presented. You also can play, well, two of the things now that are actually mentioned in the game, Lithuania and Prussia, are actually tribes. So these are petty chiefdoms. And so these, you couldn't play these before, but you can with the DLC. And so this is sort of like almost like a steppe horseman back into this other side, and Prussia is more of sort of like just light forces, essentially, sort of quite barbaric, again, petty chieftain, pagan petty chieftain in this era, really going up against the Teutonic Knights. So the Teutonic Knights will be fairly strong with what they then get to do. Christopher is in saying, Des, thank you for teaching me about drawbridges in Dwarf Fortress. I just mountain homed with that knowledge. That's great. That's cool. Hi, Samurai Wolf. Hope everyone is doing well. Hi, Ned. I don't know if I said hi before. Okay, so this one is a much more contained area where you can play as sort of like powerhouses like the Teutonics, or you can play as fairly weak factions, which would be fairly difficult. You can see the difficulty factor here for Prussia is very, very pronounced, whereas the Teutonic Knights is difficulty 3. Novgorod is going to be difficulty 4, a little bit more difficult. Probably sort of Denmark and these ones in through here are going to be, they're 3. And 3 there as well. So these are, you don't have very much you can choose from with this particular scenario. But these are pretty interesting as well. Just go back out. Let's have a quick look and see the old Grand Campaign and just see if there's any... I think that there's a change in this, I think. I may be wrong. When they brought the DLC in, and I'll go through some of the big changes with the DLC in just a minute, but there was one change that sort of did pop across into, which I think is, if you got the DLC, will actually still be viable in this particular one. In fact, there's 2 that I wanted to check because there's I'm not sure about Normandy as well. I'm thinking of like if we go and look at Normandy. And look at the modifiers. Yeah, so this one here, even if you play the base campaign, you then actually can launch war campaigns from Normandy, which is not part of the base game. So there are some little changes that have been added into the game, and so this one here, you do actually have this can launch war campaigns modifier if you've got the DLC. Also up through here with Vestland or any of these sort of Viking ones, you're going to see to the Greenlands Beyond, which is also now new, where you can actually then do expeditions off the map to then go and see different things. So that one there gives it a whole other different panel. I'll just quickly start it so you can see what I mean. So this is actually with the old base game, but still with these new changes coming into it. Yeah, so I don't know if this is easier for people to read, this font. I've sort of, as I said before, I've changed the font, which I will put into my coffee.com page once I've sort of tweaked it a little bit. Just trying to make it so it's a bit more legible. If we go back and have a look at this one now, if we have a look at the actual Vestland itself, we now have this new one, Expeditions in the North. So this has actually now come in. I'm pretty sure this is actually only from the DLC, which then allows us to explore off the map. And so there's a lot of things like this in the DLC that have been added in. There's a hell of a lot, actually, a hell of a lot more than what you first sort of think that there actually is in the DLC. Like you'd be sort of excused from thinking that it's only just an expansion to the map, but it's actually much, much more than that. And so this one actually highlights the way that you can then sort of just through abstraction, essentially do searches through the through the northern oceans. So this panel highlights the progress of Scandinavian settlers along the northern arc. The Greenlands to the Greenlands decision can be played to gain settling families from your population. The actions effectively increase by 25% for each of the following: owning a medium harbour or larger than the Norwegian coast or the Shetland Islands. So Highlands domain not exceeding lower war weariness. And reaching transport level 3 or higher. So these are different things that you can then go and do, where you then essentially send settlers out with expeditions, which can then give you income or authority, whatever else it might actually be that you sort of are looking for there. So anyway, that's sort of that is an interesting way that sort of then does work for those different sorts of factions. And again, as I said before, this is just the base game. This is not the extended map. So so this one is literally just sort of the old map at this point in time. Let's go and open up the new maps just so I can sort of show you what's going on from that aspect as well. So we'll just go back across. Let's exit the game entirely. Go back to the main menu. So if we have a look at the expanded campaign, and so this is actually the new one, where it's got the expanded DLC campaign for Rajas and tribes, from 1054 to 1274. So it's the same period, so the same sort of area. So embark on the epic 440 turn journey across the map. Let's just go and I'll just go and make it experience and just go to select. And then we'll have a bit of a look and see some of the changes that have actually come in like with this particular map and this particular scenario, or this grand campaign, I guess you'd call it. Now, in reality, when you're playing the game, you tend to be only really playing it in a localized area. Other than Crusades, you pretty much aren't really moving away from, and really you're not really monitoring, much beyond just your neighbouring kingdoms. Just to sort of check out and see what's actually going on. And so in this case, we've got the, this is the expanded campaign. The easiest way to see these different things is to actually turn on the modifiers and then just have a look to see what modifiers are where. And so this one here, for example, we're looking at England. I don't know if that's part of the base one. Yeah, so this one gives them I think it may be part of the base one in through there as well. I don't often look at this, but this is a good way of looking to see the changes that have actually come. So, for example, clicking on any of these Norse ones, we're going to get the Greenlands beyond. I think we have them all the way through. No, that one doesn't have it. Norway does have it. So Norway gets it, but not Sweden, not the Swedish areas. Denmark, Jutland doesn't. Oh, Jutland does. We've got... that's Vestland back in through that side. This is the, that one doesn't have it. So these are more sort of Scottish culture. Now, one of the things that's happened with the game as well is Scotland has been, the Scottish Army has been revised with the new update, not with the DLC, but that's actually now a new change as well with Scotland. And again, you're going to find unique ways of playing the game. It's actually a really good, I wish I had have thought of doing it this way before, because these actually show you the, I guess, the variances, the way that the game sets itself up with these different modifiers in play for different kingdoms. And so, and I won't go through what they all actually are, but every single location is pretty much going to have its own set of modifiers that do actually tweak the way that the game is presented from that particular stance. There's other things as well that do kick in. We saw there before that Normandy starts off with war campaigns, and this is actually one of the new things that's come in with the DLC, which we'll talk about. That's why I'm tempted to play as Normandy, because it's going to then end up giving us a like a lot of action, and particularly with the war campaigns, it does sort of give us the ability to do different things there. But have a think about that one. These are the other neighbours don't actually have that one, so they've actually got different sorts of aspects. France, for example, has got knightly cavalry, so these are very, very strong in cavalry. So even having a bit of a hunt around with this stuff, you may sort of find something, if you are new to the game, that will sort of tweak your thought process and think, oh, that sounds interesting. I'll actually, here's some troubadours. What does that mean? So there's different sorts of things with across the map in through this other side. The other thing, of course, is that the map now extends a lot further to the south than what it did before. So we're now in sub-Saharan Africa, and we're going to see some different things in through here. Like if I go and click on Ghana, you can see that this is like late African culture. It's got a palace standing the test of time. This one has got two things that are now a big feature of the actual new DLC, which is can do great trades and can launch war campaigns. Now, I haven't really thought much about how to show these great like the actual great trades or the war campaigns, to be honest. But I think we could almost pick almost any of the locations in the south here, which are all going to have this. These, if we look at the context, these are a fractious empire. This one here is a fractious empire as well, which means that they're an empire that is sort of in the stage of collapse. Here we've got tribes. So these are different tribes. If we go to the modifiers, they're also going to have trades and war campaigns. Even if we go back up to Europe and now have a look at Prussia, because Prussia is now playable with this new DLC. I don't think Prussia is playable from the in the old map, but in this new map it is. And this one also can do great trades and can launch war campaigns. So these are aspects of the tribes, and of course not everything has it. If I go to Poland, they don't have it, but the tribes will actually have that one. And the great trades is an interesting aspect as well. And so this is another sort of tribal group. We now end up getting a lot more steppe sort of raider type groups. So the the Cuman Horde, for example, again, can do great trades and can launch war campaigns. And these are a horde. And so this is a whole other different way of playing the game. So you've got all these different, like, it's not, there's just so much in this game. It really is unbelievable. Back and through here again, we've got city-states, and through this other side, they won't have those different aspects. So they've got like different modes of play, the way that they actually do play. And the reason I wanted to show this was because I've noticed there's a lot of questions about just how intricate the game can actually get. And it really, like when you actually start playing it, you don't think much about it because you're just playing as one empire. But this choice that you actually have right at the very, very start is really, really, profound, really, the way it sort of does work. I mean, the Byzantine Empire was always a really, really interesting one as well, just because it is so monstrously large. It's probably not great as a new player to be playing as the Byzantines, but they've got like a hell of a lot of modifiers that sort of kick in down through this other side, that sort of that impact what they get to do. And their context here is that they're a fractious empire as well, which means that they're sort of falling apart. And so, they're, like if you play as them, you're trying to hold on as long as you possibly can, essentially, with the ravages of everyone around you, sort of looking for bits and pieces. We've got like places like Georgia, for example, back and through here, which is just a petty kingdom. That's just going to have sort of fairly standard modifiers back and through this other side. But then we've got these other hordes again, which again are going to be hordes, and these do actually have again the Turkish culture back and through here, great trades, war campaigns, and a nomadic state. And so this one here, they have a different bonus as to how the forces can then sort of be pulled together. As we sort of go further across towards, we're now getting sort of like much more of the old Persian Empire showing up. So this is now much, much stronger than what it was before. And so the modifiers in through here, you can see that we've now got sort of slavery down in this area, going across. This is still Turkish culture. So the Ghaznavids back and through this other side. And then we're getting across now to India. Now India as well, you'll sort of notice that this is, these guys here are still, this is a sultanate that we sort of see in through this other side. And then we've got the modifiers in through here, elephant handlers, so they possibly can get to get elephants. They've fiercely independent. So we're not seeing the new things from here, but this is a new faction. When we start to get across into India, we then start to sort of see three different things that are now new in the actual game itself. So in the Indian cultures, we have the Indian culture itself, which will be a kingdom. So this is a Hindu kingdom, and then the modifiers we have Eastern expansion, which is a little bit like the Green Lands Beyond. It's a little bit like that. And so they've got that aspect. They've also can do great trades and can also launch war campaigns. So they've got Malwa back and through this other side. We've got the Kalyanate Chalukya, which again is also just going to be a Hindu fractious empire in this instance. So again, it's sort of like it's in a stage of collapse. This is a late Indian culture. And so you can see through there, population unrest due to different religions is decreased by 3, a bonus of 30 XP when a unit is created, and applying only to large beasts. So again, elephants, we can sort of think that there's going to be elephants in their armies, or they potentially can be. And then down through here as well, we're just going to have just Indian culture. Again, Eastern expansion, can do great trades and can launch war campaigns, and this is a kingdom. So even though it's a kingdom, a bit like what Normandy has got, they do actually have the war campaigns. If we go and pick one of these, if we say pick this one here, for example, and just sort of start the game, just so I can sort of show some of the differences that actually have now come through with these Indian groups that have now been sort of added to the actual game itself. Okay, so Mixter is saying, what's Italy like around the southern part like? I'll show you that. So this is this pre-Norman invasion of southern Italy. I'm not sure. I'll have a bit of a look. This is actually just an information about what you then get. And it's a little bit complex in the way that, for example, the great trades work. And so I'll try to just do a bit of a summary of that one as quickly as I can. But in this case, we've got our empire. If I go and click on it and then click on it a second time, we can now sort of see the various locations. I'm now looking for impediments. Now, impediments was something that was actually in empires that wasn't brought into kingdoms, but they've now brought that one back. And now, there we go. That's an impediment there. This rocky outcrop is actually an impediment. And it gives you -3 food, but it may give you opportunities as well. And so for the great trades, let's have a quick look at the great trades in through here. You now actually have, you've got expeditions to eastern India. So this is now sort of like pushing it across towards Bangladesh and there, and so on and so forth. And so they can actually send out expeditionary forces to go and check this out. So you can actually sort of move them across with the way it sort of does work. Now, I don't know if the impediments are part of the base game, and I don't know if it's only if that's actually something that's come through with the latest update or whether it's come through with the DLC. But you certainly have the impediments. So that's the expeditions. Then you've got these two other ones, access to the Great Trades panel. And so what this one does is it shows you and this is probably something we won't be playing with in this particular run, but this one allows you, each turn, all nations are ranked by legacy, earnings from trades. You are currently ranked number 4, so we're actually in through here with a legacy, top legacy earning nations from Great Trades. We're at 3.5. So if we were playing as one of these factions, we'd be wanting to try to promote this as much as we possibly could and get this aspect sort of really clicking along for us. So it can take a little bit of time for that to go and work. You can see that there's others like Estonia. So there's different groups in here that can actually participate in this. For example, you don't see Prussia. If Prussia was in this one, they're going to be pretty poor. And so you can see through here what we're sort of doing. We've got a ivory and tusk merchant at Burhanpur. So Burhanpur is actually a location we've got. And we also have a frankincense merchant at Manikateta. So that's actually 2 of the locations where we actually have some of these guys. I don't think we can actually click on those to see what they've got, but you can start the game just to sort of see what you're starting off with. And so we've got a couple of great trades that we're sort of doing, and it looks like a few of the others have got those as well. So each turn, all nations are ranked by legacy earnings from trades. You're currently ranked number 4. The top-ranked nation has a 60% chance to receive a special bonus. The second has a 30%. The third has a 10%. So the more of those we can get. So in the last turn, Cumans receive little eyes everywhere. So because they're the top ones, what that means is wherever there's a trade route from their location, they get to see and actually spy along that trade route. So essentially the trade routes from the east or wherever they may come from, and some of these will be from the from below the Sahara, for example. Depends on where you've sort of got these, but often the impediments will lead to opportunity. So this is sort of one of these interesting things with the new impediments that has come in. There's info in there about how that sort of then does work, about how things actually sort of there are 8 type of merchants, furs and pelts, wild beasts. Wild beasts is something that you could actually go and get a merchant, for example, if you were playing as the Prussians, because they have access to wild beasts because of the wildlands that they've got around them. So you've got silk, amber, spice, silk, amber, salt, spice, frankincense, ivory tusks, wild beasts, or furs and pelts. So again, a very, very broad selection of different things you can then sort of go and grab. If we go and have a look at the, and I'm purposely holding back on showing you one of the big things that's come through with the update because it ties in beautifully with this, and I'll get into that in just a minute. But this is the great trades, so we'll have a look at that again in just a second. You also then have the war campaigns. This is a little bit convoluted in one sort of sense. Again, enough time has passed since the last war campaign. You have 2 war goal decisions available. Now, those decisions are part of your regional decisions. And if we just go and have a look at those, I'll just go and remove that one for a second. You'll see there, declare war goals. We've got 2 of those. So I can actually go and make 2 of these at this point in time. Let's just go back in again and just go to the war campaigns. Use war goal regional decisions on the map against non-allied nations. Targeting strong relations will earn you more legacy once you conquer them. Targeting strong regions will earn you more legacy once you conquer them. Gain extra war goal decisions by increasing your military expertise or by making war preparations. And so there's different ways of pushing to get even more of these. Consult the Realm Traits tabs in the Nation panel for details. Now, This is every 16 turns you can launch a new one of these campaigns. As many cards as you've got, you can actually launch up to. Up to 4. If you do launch all 4, then everyone around you is going to start to look at you very, very suspiciously as a warmonger. But sort of launching 1 or 2 is really not a big problem. Every 4 turns, up to the full 16 turns that this has to run, you will lose potential legacy. If you win very, very well, you're going to get lots of authority from this. If you lose poorly doing this one, you're going to lose a lot of authority. So there's a lot of dynamics in the way that this actually does play out. That's why I sort of wanted to play as one of these factions, and I'm thinking Normandy could be a fun one because it's the only one in the middle of Europe that has actually got these war campaigns other than tribes, other than like Prussia. So Normandy is sort of interesting in that sort of sense. So that could be a fun one for us to play. So that's how they go and work, and you can see there's different things like, for example, with war preparations, military expertise, these sorts of things. Right, let's now go back to the trades again and just go and close that one off for a second. If we go and have a look at the actual locations, now we did actually have, that one there has got the, that one does have, this is the frankincense merchant back in through this other side. And so you can see through there the great trades, we're getting 1.75 coming from this one through here. And so this is the frankincense merchant, and legacy increase of 1.75. So the more trade goods like this we can get, the more we're going to do well. And again, if we've got neighbouring locations that have also got these great trades available, we may want to take them and actually sort of make good use of them ourselves. So again, it sort of becomes something where there's more reason now to try to actually take these locations from other people if you've got the ability to then sort of make use of these of being like one of the outlying traders. So you need frankincense imported from Calicut at this stage. So we're actually importing this one. So essentially from Calcutta. It costs 3 money for us to do that one, but we do get a lot of legacy coming from this particular trade. Legacy is the base score in the game. It's not very important in a lot of things, but now it is more important with these great trades coming in as well. And so with this one now, I'm going to show you something really, 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 really exciting. I've put in 4 reallys there because this, for me, is something that I've really wanted to see in the game for so long. I thought that they'd do it through a wiki, but they've actually done it in-game, and it's brilliant. So if I go and click on any building, that when you open it up, I can then actually open it to see all sorts of new information that wasn't here before. And so I've been holding off doing my live stream with this because I really wanted to show this, because this is an absolute game changer. This is this essentially is a building like a building browser for the actual game itself. And you can search for anything. Like you can sort of go and look at anything and just see how things track forward. And it's something you can get a little bit lost in as to how it sort of does work. If I sort of hover over it, I'm going to get the information that we saw there in the middle of the map about what actually does happen with this one, how it works, and so on and so forth with the way that this actually sort of does go and work. What the inputs are. In this case, frankincense needs to be an input resource. You can also notice there, this keyword can also be used with this notable point, and it's got frankincense 0 with it's got the sort of like the paragraph symbol in the front, which I've sort of put that down as a bug because I don't think that shouldn't really be there because it's not easy to find on a keyboard. So, but if you just type in frankincense, you'll start to see the different buildings that are then applied to it. We'll select all structures that input frankincense. So there should only be one. Like if I go into here, for example, and just start to type in frankincense, you can see it sort of coming back in through this one. Frankincense. How do you spell it? CENSE0. And so that's the input for it, which is just the frankincense merchant, which is what we're seeing through here. But I can then, if I just leave it like that one, I've got like the Emporium Depot, for example. So this is a different type of location that actually outputs frankincense. So it's outputs 2 of these resources, and this one goes from a trade emporium. So I can start to now see what, if I've got a plan for something, I can then think, okay, well, how do I get to that? Like, what do I need to go and get one of these different sorts of things? Well, I'd need to have a trade emporium. And so the trade emporium, and these are level 2 buildings, and the level actually has a big thing that you need to be aware of, because, for example, if you are playing as a tribe, you're not going to be able to get to level 2 buildings. You only get to level 1. But essentially, what we've got is that this one then goes to the trade emporium, does actually lead on to all sorts of different other emporiums. These are the emporium depots, like ivory, wild beasts, amber, frankincense, naphtha. All these different other things can then come from this essentially this trade emporium. This one then has come from a trade road. The trade road has come from a trader's district. The trader's district is the first of the level 2 buildings. This one actually has an input of luxury goods. Luxury goods get put into it, and so you can sort of now start to see the full range of different types of buildings as they come back from them. It comes from a trader's burrow. So the trader's burrow is like the level 1 building for it. And this is this thing in through here again with all of the different aspects about what it brings. It's just beautifully done. Just the summary of it. Also, you've got the history of what you've searched. So as you sort of start to go and track your way through things, you can just go back and say, okay, look, I started there. Because there can be different ways of moving forward. For example, if I go to this fortified manor, the fortified manor is an entry point in through the other side. It does different types of things, provides some garrison troops, provides wall levels, all sorts of different aspects about what this one actually does go and do. Again, I can just hover over it if I'm wanting to sort of read about it. And this is actually just a free update. This is not part of the DLC. I should have pointed that out. But this is very, very, very exciting, the way it sort of does work. I'll just go and clear that one off. So we've sort of got that one completely open. But you can start to search for anything at all. So if you're sort of interested in something, and you think, how do I get that? Like, what do I need to look for to actually sort of be able to achieve something? You should be able to sort of do it through this other side. So as you start to sort of track through, this is a barracks. It's then going to open itself up to tournament grounds, etc. This one, so the barracks will then give you different ways of sort of building. If I go to tournament ground, in through there, we'll sort of see that it also comes from the same area. So I can start to just do searches for these. The tournament ground will then open up the jousting field, which is a tier 2 building. And so the tier 2 buildings are much more high level, and so this may be something you start to sort of then aim for to sort of see what you can actually then go and do, with the actual game itself. But this building explorer or way of sort of going and doing things is really cool. The way it sort of does work, you can actually just choose between standard mode, which is just going to show you what you can essentially go for, or you can go complete mode. So if I go back into the tournament ground through here and then turn off the standard mode in through, it's not going to show me, it's just for the search, sorry. That's, not sure which one we're doing. If we go to farm, that might, if I click on those, yeah, you see how we're getting terraced farms, things like that, which we don't get. Oh, sorry, you've got there's two lots of tenant farms. There's that one and that one. So we're getting like more like a southern or eastern look there, whereas we're getting more of a northern one there at tier level 2. So you can then filter this way as well to only show what you can actually go and get with where you're actually up to different things. So again, it's really quite nicely done, the way that they've sort of actually gone and done this one. So I won't spend any more time on that, but that's big. That is really big in the way it sort of does work. So they're the different big additions that have come through with the DLC. Let me just go back out again to the main menu. We'll open this one up again, and I'll show you. There was a question there about Italy and the different things you can play with Italy. So we'll go back to the expanded campaign. There's also one other thing I do want to show you as well, actually, before we sort of get right into the game itself. So Mr. was saying, I think I remember during betas for Medieval, we got that far east. Oh, there we go. Yeah, so of course the connection with the game Field of Glory to Medieval, if you do want to play the battles out in that, is also fairly Like that's a great way to play it, and it's like a tabletop experience. Hi Began, how you going? Began said hi in in YouTube as well before. I'm just going to turn my air conditioner on. I'll be right back. Okay, so now with playable factions, now the game has sort of really opened up. We've got a lot more playable factions than what we had before with this new version. One thing we don't actually have is these, like the Brabant and the Antwerp and these sorts of areas, are sort of independents that sort of start off. These are like in German independent fiefdoms. Through here, you're going to sort of see a fair few of these around the map. These are sort of like free expansion areas. If you sort of started it as one of their neighbours, you may decide to go and attack that sort of straight away, just to sort of have to at least sort of be able to then claim some easy land. So there's sort of easy land with what you're going and doing. Let's have a look at Italy. So Italy we've got sort of like Tuscany at the top through here. And some of these, the different locations will start off either as major nations, which are sort of the playable nations really that are sort of advised to, that have been sort of curated very, very strongly to give you a good start. The remarkable factions are sort of like mid-level, and then you've sort of got like the other factions. And so things like Tuscany, for example. So this is a marquisate. I've never seen that in the game, but anyway, that's a different way of playing. These are Catholic, Christian, Italian. And so these are the modifiers: Italian culture, and this is a minor Western feudal state. So there's not a lot of modifiers. The other factions usually have like less in the way of modifiers than other things around them. Whereas some of the more pronounced ones, like if we go to Genoa, for example, which is just across into here, we'll see that there's a lot more to play with because these are quite different. Like the context of this one, this is a principality, but this is so it's an autonomous commune. So essentially it becomes more of a trading area, and I think Venice does as well. If I click on Venice, this is a bank, Kingmaker's Bank, and through this other side, commercial enclaves, and again, what's that one down? That's also considered to be a principality back and through this other side. Bankers of Kings. So these have got different ways of playing these sorts of almost republic-style groups. The other one that we've got through here is just going to be baronial vassal, iron fist rule, minor Western feudal state. This will be, Verona will be down towards the bottom of the map. This will just be a marquisate in through there again as well. As we start to come back through, we've then got the, this is the Papal States. The Papal States, that one there, sorry, Perugia is, or Pentopolis. Yeah, that's actually, but for Rome we don't get to play because this is Papal States. Yes, that's a different group up through there. That's actually a group there, but the Papal States are not playable. The Papal States are sort of higher level than the game. This is sort of like dictates how the Catholic Church sort of works. So they sort of work on a different plane than what the game actually sort of plays on. Then as we sort of come back down, we've got Naples down through this other side. Again, not a major faction in the game. So this is plutocracy. So this is one's going to actually have commerce bonus. What's the actual type? This is a principality again as well. As we sort of come down, Salerno and Almfia, whatever it is. What is it? Almfi. Oh, the principality. We sort of come back down the bottom through here. This is Calabria, which is actually up towards the so Apulia and Calabria. This is actually a duchy, a Catholic Christian Italo-Norman. So the Normans have got here. So we've got the sort of like the Normans down in this area. And so the modifiers here, we're going to have a few different things. We've got Italo-Norman culture. We've got Italo-Normans culture. I'm not sure why we've got two different ones in through there. This one can launch war campaigns. Actually, that's interesting. I hadn't gone through everything to try to find the war campaigns, but they can do that as well, which is now, as I said, part of the DLC. So the Normans are down this way, and then we've got Sicily as well down through this other side, which is at this stage. Why is it not playable? Palermo. I'll just go and click on something else and see if I can actually click on Palermo. Not sure why I can't actually play as them. It's independent. Not sure why Sicily isn't playable. There'd be a reason for it. Or is that... oh no, it is playable. Hang on, that's Salerno there. And then I just can't pick actually Sicily in this instance. But then across here, of course, I can sort of go into Tunis, and so we can start to sort of now play as the as more of the Muslim sort of countries down in this other side. So there's an awful lot to choose from. There is also another one which is fairly interesting, and what this one is it's sort of like the start of Ethiopia, so it's sort of Christians that are sort of on the other edge of the Muslim expansion, and so down through here we end up with a smallish country called Solomon. And this is actually sort of like a special interest location, and it's got its own set of rules. If you have a look at modifiers in through this other side, unyielding legacy. So there's Solomon's descendants ruled for centuries, claiming divine right. Their legacy endured, inspiring unwavering loyalty to the people. There's a chance every turn that one of the non-mercenary units will become a volunteer with very large upkeep discounts. So basically it means you can end up with a monstrously large army playing as Solomon. It's a unique faction in the game, again coming with the DLC. Keeper of the Ark. So again, this is legends say Solomon's bloodline safeguarded the Ark of the Covenant. His rule brings reverence, mystery, and divine authority. The characters controlled in this nation have a significantly higher chance of avoiding fateful events. So they have a piety bonus back and through there again as well. Ethiopian culture. Can do great trades and can also launch war campaigns. So this one is actually sort of designed as a fairly easy little faction sort of on the periphery of the game, where you get to essentially create an empire, like if you sort of play this one for long enough. So that one also may be an interesting choice for people to actually sort of go and play as these guys with the actual sort of start itself. So hi Lumpastora saying no, not German, I mean Flemish. I'm not sure what that was about. So it would be good. It would be like calling you English, even if you're half a world away. At least you speak the same language. We don't speak German. I'm sorry if I mentioned something that where I shouldn't have actually done that one. It must have been a while back. So Tiger Terrace is in saying hi Daz, nice font change. Do you like it? Yeah, I'll put this onto my coffee.com page. It was fairly easy to change it, but I've been tweaking it for a couple of hours actually, just trying different fonts and seeing what sort of it ends up being quite legible. I can also change the colours as well, which I do mean to have a bit of a look at as well before I sort of upload any of those sorts of things. So I'll look at the darkest of the red colours and see if I can sort of lighten those off. I found where they are, so it's very, very simple to make those changes. So Tiger Terrace is saying, so yeah, you do like it? Yeah, no, it's actually very, very simple to change. So I'll probably take me a day or so to actually get this put into my coffee.com page, but I'll end up popping it in there, and that way, at least if anyone does want to have like an alternate font, you can sort of then go and grab it and just download it. As I say, extremely easy to sort of go and do that one. So Stabrine is saying, you okay, Daz? The old voice sounds like it's having a wobble. It may just be the update for my computer. I'm not sure. Hopefully it's loud enough. But no, I'm fine. So, it's about the independence. Oh, okay. Oh, the independence up through here, where they did call them German, didn't they? These were German independent fiefdom. So we've got the Flemish county there. So we've got Flemish county. Picardy is French. That is Flemish. One is, that's Flemish, yeah, it's Frisian, Flemish there, Frisian there, but these are considered the German independent fiefdoms. That's what I was referring to, Franconian. So these are the various population cultures that you end up getting in the game itself. Okay, so anyway, let's start somewhere. What I wanted to do with this was I wanted to sort of start the game sort of showing like essentially how the how to approach the game if you're new to the game, or if you sort of like, I also see there's a lot of people who actually like the idea of the game, but find that they just sit there going clicking end turn without actually doing anything. So I'll try to actually approach this as to what to look for when you're going to be starting to actually play the game, what to like how to sort of set the game up so that you end up getting the sort of game the game experience that you actually want, things like that. There will be some terms where you are sort of just rolling things through, but there's always something to look for or look at. So we can play as a few different things in through there. I mean, Normandy, I like the idea of that one simply because it had the war campaigns back and through here. I know that Scotland has just been updated, so the Scottish forces have now got like a different type of army, and we do actually have some independent Scottish areas there. So Scotland can expand reasonably well. And so what I'd suggest is if you are new to the game, try to find something that's not just a vassal. Like this is, if we go and have a bit of a look at this one through here, this one, it has got a vassal of Lothian. So we'd be better off not playing as Lothian. Like if we can play as Lothian, but we are then a vassal of Scotland. So that's the first thing I'd suggest, is that you actually play as an actual kingdom where you're not actually a vassal of somebody else. Not that it's a big deal, and you can always sort of go and challenge, for whatever you want to be doing in the game. It's not like you can really sort of start wherever you like. But also, Lothian is only a single domain, and so a single domain is going to be a bit limiting. What you don't want to have is you don't want to have a mountain of different things to control, but you do want to have some things. So, for example, I wouldn't play as the Byzantine Empire as your starting game. That's going to be there's too much to organise and manage, so the micromanagement there is going to be dramatic in that particular location. And some of these other ones, like the Hungary, for example, is going to have a couple of vassals. The actual location, generally the game itself is not overwhelming in terms of managing the actual factions. There's still a lot you can or probably should do, but you don't have to. Just see if there's any, if anyone sort of is saying, oh, can you play this or play that? Because I don't really mind what we play. So it's sort of like, and there was also another question is, does the game play out the same way every single time that you play it? And the answer to that is no, and with a qualified no in a number of different ways. When the game starts, for example, we've got a strength here of 112, and so this is actually coming through from skills of the actual leader. We've got different, like if we go and look at Normandy, maybe are you guys happy for me to play as Normandy? I know it's not really one of the newish factions, or do we play as something on the periphery? Like, do we play as Poland? Poland's probably a bit large for a new player to be playing. Livonia is petty chiefdom. I don't really want to be playing as the chiefdoms. What else have we got? I prefer to be... actually, the other thing is the toys that you get to play with. This, I think, is a major impact on the happiness with the game. And a few of the little things, for example, I always like to have a look to see what the guys have got in their armies before they start. I tend to avoid armies that look like this to a large degree because quite often it's difficult to build up meaningful forces. They're okay as like little raiding forces, but they're not great in terms of being able to field big solid armies. So I tend to look at the armour that they're wearing and the type of unit that we have. So we've just got sort of like a defensive spearman through there, defensive spearman up through this other side. Again, just a very, very skirmisher type unit there. Then we start to come back down into, like this is not a knight, this is like a lightly armoured cavalry. And so I'm thinking these are going to be almost like, not step raiders, but they're going to be very lightly armed horsemen, which is not all that interesting. Again, this is also not that interesting to me. As we sort of come down, we are now getting the full step archers, which I would be avoiding those, essentially because they're going to be, again, a different way of playing the game. So if you're looking for more of a traditional style, this is more, we're now starting to see that Bohemia is actually got, Bohemia might be an interesting one to play as. Let's have a look and see. This is a minor principality. It's got a vassal of Moravia. Modifiers are it's late Bohemian. It is actually in that middle slot, which is actually fairly good. So it's got the Premyslid influence. So Bohemia is ruled by the Premyslid family during this period, which through a series of eminent monarchs. So what do they end up getting? An authority bonus of 10%, which is great, and diplomacy reduction. So that's actually pretty cool. Skilled immigrants, so we end up with a infrastructure bonus of 8%, a food bonus of 4%. Baronial vassal, this is often what you find with sort of like the feudal societies. Holy Roman Empire member. So we're a member of the whole. If we played as, and I've never played as Bohemia, but if we played as Bohemia, we'd end up essentially being part of the Holy Roman Empire, where we have other things that we have to go and do that one. And we do actually start off with imperial roads, which is actually pretty cool. So we're constantly patrolled thanks to the instituted and enforced peace of the empire. This province, this provides a bonus to commerce. So we get a commerce bonus of 10%. This actually looks pretty cool. It looks pretty easy, actually. I mean, it's saying there it's only 2-star difficulty. And it's not too difficult. Like, in this sense, we actually end up with a fairly good, like, it looks like the knights here, the early knights look to be fairly cool, the way that they're sort of structured. If you're really wanting to play with solid knights, though, you want to go across, cross the Rhine and get into the French territories. They don't look all that dissimilar. But France will ultimately have pretty much the best cavalry of this era. And also we're looking there at the Normans have also then got it. When we cross, and this is one thing I love about this game, is that when we cross it into England and we have a look at the English area, we've got the late Anglo-Saxon groups. And so this one actually, where they're more, they don't have less cavalry and more in terms of heavy infantry. And so they're not just heavy infantry with spears, which is sort of what happened around the when cavalry started to sort of take effect. These are still sort of like almost proto-Viking type units, Huscarl type units with axes. So we're looking at heavily armed, but with the offensive axe weapon rather than the defensive spear weapon. And then I did play as Wales recently, where again they've got more sort of skirmisher units because they're in the mountains. So there's a whole range of different things in through here. I would avoid, I said this the other day as well, I would avoid playing as Ireland. Ireland really doesn't have good access to the weaponry that you'd be interested in playing in a medieval type game. Scotland does look interesting. It's using gambeson. It's not actually using metal, which makes it sort of like more of a medium troop, and it's got the very, very long pike, so that would actually be a fairly interesting sort of way of them playing this. They've also got the long pike up through that other side. When we come back across this side, we should start to see, well, it's more skirmisher type unit. Then we start to see, actually this is a Vestland army through there has actually got spears. I thought we'd sort of see more Viking style units. Well, these are actually Vikings, but with the these ones do have the spear on the horseback, so that's not bad for Denmark. So yeah, I don't know if you guys have got any of those different things we've been looking at. Like Bohemia doesn't have any of the special ones. It does have the Holy Roman Empire, where we have to sort of then go and do different things within the Holy Roman Empire. Silesia is yeah, that's sort of more Polish in its sort of approach. Poland, again, Poland, you're not seeing the heavy armour there. But it is still a Western feudal state, so that may also have things. And we're on the border then with these guys. Poland's a biggish area. That may be an interesting one to play. Yeah, I'm really in two minds as to which way to go there. We can certainly expand out. The trouble with Poland is that we're going to already be nearly at the limit of what we can expand into. What about this one here? Obtries. I've never even heard of that one. This is Western Slavic culture, feudal state. It's actually just in the other factions back and through this other side. They do actually have crossbowmen. They're going to be in a heavily wooded area, and they're still a little way away from Prussia and the others. Yeah, we're not sort of seeing the knights that we would sort of be looking for in the other locations. Bohemia is going to give us a bit of interaction, I think, in amongst everything else. This one is not part of the Holy Roman Empire. That's interesting as well. A bit more difficult. So just see if anyone in the comments is sort of looking for anything in particular to sort of have a look at. You can say I'd probably go with an edge one with only one border to defend at the start. You don't have to worry too much about that, to be honest. Like, it's sort of one of those things where the bigger the area, of course, you're going to have to sort of go and do. But I think I'd prefer to be playing with the toys through here. Like we get better equipment as we sort of come into the middle of the map. When we go back out to the new factions, for example, they're not going to have the same degree of heavy type infantry. We're sort of looking at more sort of skirmisher type units, sort of more lightly armed. So these ones don't actually have the. These are almost sort of like raider types. So again, just looking at the actual toys that they've got is, or the weaponry that they've got, it can have a big bearing on the way that the game is played. You've also then, of course, got the Spain with all the various the different sort of troops in through there as well, fairly heavily armoured. So there we go. So Unstable saying I like the idea of Bohemia. Okay, let's go and do that one. Just saying try maybe some African country or Denmark. Let's go with Bohemia. It's sort of in the middle there, and I've never played as a Holy Roman Empire state before. This one's not too massive. We do actually have this one here is Moravia, which is a vassal of Bohemia. So that one's actually fairly interesting. If we go to Bohemia back and through here, so this is a minor principality. What's Moravia? That's just a march. Okay, march is sort of like baronies, essentially, is the way that you sort of go and think of it. So let's just go and start with Bohemia. We do actually have an area we can extend into in this location right from the very, very start. And even having a look at the numbers, like again, as I was just talking before about how the game can be random. Now, a lot of the buildings when you start will always be the same. Let's just go and choose this one here, and we'll just go and see if we can sort of then go and see the differences. I'll start twice and just see if we can spot the difference. So in 1002, the Czech Duchy of Bohemia became part of the Holy Roman Empire. In 1198, it was raised to the status of a kingdom while remaining a vassal of the Holy Roman Empire. There we are, blah, 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 a bit of a history there. So we'll just go and click on OK. So we'll start a couple of times just to sort of see what we can then go and do. Playing as, we'll read this one properly when we start the second time, so we get an understanding of how to play within that rule set. So 78 is what we have with this particular army. Sometimes we're going to sort of find, again, there's an impediment there, so ransomers. So these are, this one does actually lead to abductions and misery. So this one actually is a drain. So we'd need to counter that. So there's 5 buildings there. Some of these will be set in stone, but some of them may be random as well. So it can be random the way it does come in. And also your court will often be random. Maybe not so much you, but quite often the people involved here may be a little bit random in the way that they sort of do come through. So we're going to look at Pavel, Divis, and Harabus. It's going to be the three different sons and daughters that we actually end up having, and even the queen. So Adleta Hadris is actually the queen. So often it's only the king that sort of stays where they are. So these can all be sort of like done randomly. Let's just go and start again, and we'll just sort of see if it does end up being a little bit different. So if we just go back, oops, I'll keep on doing that. And we'll start again. Expand the campaign. Now, also, I do remember that Normandy started off with 112, and it's their power for their military last time. We'll just see if that's the same, because quite often the bigger numbers can deviate quite a bit, depending on the random changes for when you do sort of start a new game. So the game isn't always played out the same, and also when you do get started, it can wildly change. So there's a lot that can go on. Okay, so Jerry's saying, the only reason I'm saying Denmark before they have the new Scandinavian available, new addition to the game. Do you know anything about refined battle mechanics? No, I don't. This is actually something I do want to test out, actually, to see actually how it does work. Yeah, see how this one went from 112 to 119. So there's something different there with Normandy. We were 78, I think. Yeah, so we're slightly different here, and so it's like even the force that we've got is now a crossbowman, and whereas before it was actually like a spearman on horseback. So we're seeing like slight differences here with the way it's sort of set up, but we're still seeing the actual armor on Bohemia. So So there are random differences when you do start, every time you start the game. But if we go back in and just choose this one. So sorry, you were mentioning about this one's Jutland here, which essentially, now Denmark itself is actually, this is a petty kingdom, Catholic, Christian, Danish. This is actually in the other factions area. What about Jutland? Jutland's also in that one as well. It's petty kingdom. This is actually a county. Let's go to Denmark. Modifiers. Greenland's beyond. Skane market. Late Danish culture. What's the other one? It's just Danish culture. Yeah, so again, they've got a different type of thing. So can collapse on the death of a ruler. Diplomacy bonus of 15% of the accepted chance of treaties. Western feudal state, which is going to be fairly sort of standard. Go to Bohemia. Yeah, let's just play as Bohemia anyway. We'll play this. We'll start off with this particular one. We'll just go from there. Okay, yeah. So Scandinavian countries now start with the Northern Arc. Some do and some don't. Some don't actually have it. So Jutland does have it. Who didn't have it? Yeah. So Västergotland, Skane doesn't have it. Denmark does have it. Norway does have it, yeah. So it's just these ones through here. Yeah, it's Vestland. Then we've got some. That one doesn't have it. It's part of Norway, yeah. So that they do get it there. I don't think Scotland would get it. No. So none of those will actually end up having it as well. Anyway, let's continue on. So there's been a lot of changes to the base game as well. So let's just go to Bohemia. We'll just sort of start on the edge here, and we'll just read as we sort of bring things in. So it just gives you a bit of gameplay sort of information there if you sort of are wanting to do it. That's actually worth reading, just as sort of as things to look for when you first come into the game. And we'll have a look at this when we do come in. So some of these things it does sort of say. The very first thing it says, to begin with, it's crucial to ensure that your treasury is not losing an excessive amount of money, as this can severely limit your options. Now, we're getting plus 41 at this point in time. We'll come and have a look at all of these things in some depth. Some of these mechanics up through here are not important, as in they're not as important, but some of them are critically important to sort of understand what's going on. Now, so we've got the great trades and war campaigns back and through there. Just go. Actually, one thing I can show it in a different way. That's all right. That's the great trades and war campaigns. Now, playing as the Holy Roman Empire, again, I've never done this before, so we'll read this one through. As the Emperor of the Holy Roman Empire, you will need to deal with powerful prince-electors as well as your vassals. So we're not the emperor, of course. All empire members may contest a change of ruler if their authority is higher than yours. So be sure to either maintain a high authority as the emperor or make decisions that reduce the authority of your fellow members. The influence of the prince-electors is represented by laws, which can be either to your benefit or disadvantage, depending on whether your authority is higher than the average. Authority of all HRE members. Consult the nation panel for more details. However, members of the Holy Roman Empire rarely wage war against each other and will show solidarity in the event of a foreign invasion, offering a significant advantage. Should a conflict erupt between two HRE members, or worse, between the HRE member and the Emperor, the offender will face severe penalties. So weigh carefully the option of declaring war as the Emperor. This can lead to severely degraded relationships with the rest of the empire and even the breaking of treaties. Some HRE members are vassals, albeit often very independent-minded and thus not too loyal. Others are simply neighbours of the empire proper. If you fall under 10 members of the empire, then the maximum domain size for authority gain will be accordingly reduced. So I'm not sure how that one sort of then goes and works. So this is mainly for the emperor, I think. So progressing in realm level government as the emperor or a member is significantly harder than for other nations. So actually going up through the different levels, we'll explain this as well. But vassals will help you decrease the requirements a lot, even more than other nations. Thus, getting rid of your vassals is often not a good idea. Quite often in the game, you're looking to try to absorb vassals to sort of make your own realm stronger. In this case, it's saying not to do that. Italy and the papacy. So under certain conditions, it will be possible to benefit from conquest in Italy with claims to that's not really happening to us, so we won't worry about that one. The Holy Roman Empire was sort of like heavily associated with the papacy. So P.S. If played by the AI, the Holy Roman Empire will have an increased interest in gaining territories in Italy as claims gain their give bonus authority and legacy. Right, so that's just how that one works. Okay, so we've now started up the game, and now we just need to start to focus on different things. Now, the game first of all says to have a look at the money situation. If it's positive, it means that at least you're heading in the right direction. There's going to be some things we can do to change that and make it even stronger. Maybe we'll just have a quick look at the things that are really important. Actually, if I just go across, there's a few little things now in the options which have now come forward. And so when you have a look at this one, by all means, I'll just go and play this on experience. I think I can change that AI difficulty. I think it will change there now. So, you can sort of like change factions. This is if you're new to the game, the tips menu through here has got like a lot of information. This can be worth just having a bit of a scroll through to sort of see all sorts of little things, because the game is very, very deep. It's not so much difficult because a lot of these things are under the hood. It's sort of like if you needed to sort of change the spark plugs or something like that in your car, the game is sort of like showing you the tips of what happens under the hood, whereas you're not really looking at that aspect. But nearly everything you do will have a rollover effect into other aspects of the game without it actually being in your face and saying you need to do this or do that type thing to sort of tweak it. So quite often you can sort of play thematically and with a bit of role play and actually do fairly well, because the game itself will be rewarding you for playing in that sort of sense. So anyway, there's different things in through there. You've got other things, for example, like no Norman invasions. So in this case, the Normans won't receive units. Quick victory, if you do want to sort of have something where the legacy, because legacy is all about victory, you'll then be able to essentially go and have that one as well. Weaker crusades, so there will only be a single scripted crusade army around 1090 and no more after that initial one, so in the grand campaign. Also, this is interesting as well, this has now just come into it, so check this option if you don't want special impediments related to rumoured and law sites. Impediments we saw there before were negatives. We'll have a look and see if we can find some more. I didn't explore that much when we were looking at the impediments, because the impediments are sort of important, but some of them are going to be sort of mythologically sort of aligned, or sort of suspicious, or suspicions will be part of these. You can turn those off if you don't want them. There'll still be the stock standard ones like bogs or salt marshes, things like that. But some of the more weird ones, you can turn those off if you don't actually want them. I'm just going to tweak this one up, make it more aggressive with the AI. I'll keep the rest of it where that actually is. I don't think I have to change anything else. So you've got different ways of sort of chopping and changing this. But again, there's a few little extras in through here now as well. So I'll just go back out and just go back. Not sure if that will now sort of play the way that we want it to play. So let's have a quick look and see. If we go into the... see if it remembered it. Yeah, it's got experience there. I'm thinking that must be able to be changed during the game, I would imagine. All right, that's cool. So playing as Bohemia. So that's the so essentially when we first come in, just have a quick look at the money, just glance at it. Like we'll come back and look at more depth with this one as we go forward. At the moment we're making plus 41. Manpower will be important when we start to need to build up an army. At this point in time, we've got 77 in through here with this particular army. We'll have a look at the army in just a minute, but that's fine where that actually is. When we see events, and I'll talk about events in a minute, but we will sort of see different events. So this is just showing us in turn 1 summary. Great trades. Great trades are an option available to tribal and nomadic nations, allowing them to earn legacy points through trade of specific resources. So that's really just what we looked at when we first came in. So that's not really an important message, and I'll go through the message situation. The message system in the game is very, very powerful, and it is worth understanding that. So we'll go through that in a bit of depth as well. As we sort of come back across, we've got the manpower generation. Again, we'll have a look at this as required. This isn't anywhere near as important as the money. We've then got, for example, diplomacy. We'll have a look at that as well when we need to. We could turn that on now and just sort of see the treaties we've got. Is Moravia is the only actual treaty that we actually have. Again, at the start of the game, it can be useful to just see how that one then goes and works. This is actually just a summary of the of our religion, and so this is Catholic Christian. It will then sort of show the major areas for religion in the game itself, and so again, nothing we have to really worry ourselves with, but there are different things as the Crusades come and so on and so forth. This will become more important. The next one is the nation panel. We'll come back to that one in just a minute. Ledger as well. This is if you're needing to find detailed information, the ledger is very, very important, but not right now. So we'll come back to that one. This is something that I don't know why these aren't highlighted more. These are critical, and every turn you really need to look at these. These are essentially like random cards that you go and get, where you have where you've got different things you can do every single turn, and you get a new card every turn, and it may or may not be really, really important. I almost wish that it came up at the start of your turn as the thing that opened up, because it's that important. So this is actually, I think, where new players actually may not even be aware of just how important this screen is. Always look at it every turn, have a look at it to see what you can then go and do. And there's a few things in through here we can do. You can see we've got 3 decisions. We must have 2 of these, I'm guessing. So that font that I've got changed in there is probably not is probably hiding that a little bit. But these are, we'll talk about these in just a minute when we start to sort of look at our army, because these, you'll always start off with some of these recruit local units and recruit non-standard units. And we'll talk about how that one actually does work in the game. So local units are sort of going to be able to be selected from different locations, but they can be both of these are very, very important. But you get all sorts of cards over the course of the game, and a lot of these are tied to the events that you set up in the game, and also the buildings that you build as well will actually give you, I guess, the chances of getting more different types of cards. You can also if you hover over that one, you can see shift right click to reduce the odds of having that decision, or shift left click to increase it, but it does cost you more money. Then go and do that if you do tweak, the odds of getting them. So you get essentially 1 card per turn. It is random, but not completely random. It's actually got like a weighting system based on all sorts of different aspects in the game, and so it's a bit of a dark art trying to sort of manage that one. But at least now with the new building viewer, we can start to sort of now try to tweak these a little bit and check to see what sort of events and what sort of cards we're likely to go and get. Now this is called the regional decisions. So RDG, I think, is actually what does show up. In fact, if we go in and have a look and see if we can just sort of see that while we're talking about these things. If I just go into, for example, this one here, click on the actual building, bring this one up. If I just go and type RDG, it's just showing no results. Not sure if it's going to show it there. Is it read RGD? Yeah, so this is actually RGD, and I'm not sure if this is going to show it in through this other side. But if I go into this gatehouse or guardhouse, so you can see there the event, 1 extra decision, remove hostiles provided. So this, when you see an event card like what's written in the bottom through there, this is sort of where we can now use this building system that they've got, this where we can sort of go and do different things to see what's available to us in terms of trying to push different events. So we can start to aim for things if we wanted to. So if you wanted to min-max a little bit, you can actually just type, so RGD, I think that's regional decisions, is sort of how that one does work. I saw that written somewhere, I forget where it was, but these sorts of things are going to have event. The fortification option provides 1 extra remove hostiles regional decision. So I don't know if maybe even regional decision not regional doesn't show up, but RGD does. So RGD is like one way you can sort of just go and test for those different sorts of things. So anyway, that's where we end up having that one through there. We'll come back and have a look at just a minute. So that's actually, these are vitally important. Every single turn, look and see what you've got. You'll also notice that this is a maximum of 16. this number doesn't really change much, and so you don't want to go above that number. In fact, you can't. It'll just randomly get rid of one for you. So manage these every turn. Just don't let them run away. Sort of certainly keep things in the bank if you think you're going to need it. You can sell them off as well if you do want to sort of go and get more money or more manpower. There's different things that these will sort of then help with. So Jerry's saying, did you change the font? Yes, I did. Yes, so I will actually be. I'll be making that available, but it'll take me a day or so just to sort of figure out the best combination of fonts for the game. But I have changed it just to make it a bit more legible. We were looking at it the other day, just trying to find a way to make the game a bit more legible with with all the information that it's got. Let me know if you don't like it, because I can not that I can chop and change it today, but it's one of those things I want to make it as legible as I can. Like you can see there, turn 1, for example, doesn't quite fit in where it normally would fit, because I'm using a monospaced font because I found that easier to read than using other fonts. So I've been experimenting with all sorts of different fonts just in a couple of hours in the lead up to this stream. So that's the regional decisions. Then we've got look over through here, metal production, legacy changes, which will which aren't really important unless you are playing with the great trades. And then authority. This is vitally important. You do need to manage this, and you need to be aware of what's actually going through here. So planned authority changes, we've got 1.8. If we can get more of those, it's going to help us a lot. And the current domain size, you can see there is 5. Maximum domain size for authority gain is 5. So if we go above our domains, which is the small, like we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and through there, that's the areas that we control. If we got this one here, for example, so Kaslev, we then go to 6, which would then take us, and we'd end up having more of a problem because we've gone above our maximum domain size. And so at the moment, you can see the domain size, we're not getting any authority for having essentially the right number of domains. But if we go above that number, we're going to go negative. So we would need to then try to find ways of keeping that down. Now this is, as I said before, this is critically important. And you'll see when we sort of start to play the game, just how important this one actually does go through, how this one does work. So it's just a matter of just trying to manage it through your domain size. The button that we did miss is essentially your nation panel, which is a very important button. Let's have a quick look at this one through here. So we've got a lot of different things. When you do actually have special rules, and the special rules we have is the imperial screen. So while there's an emperor in through here, we can then go and open this one up. So I've never played with this before, but this is actually now what we're sort of seeing through here. So we've got total HRE members count 17 with 74 regions and a total army strength of 1,800. So Emperor Henry the Black with 17 regions residing in Goslar. So the average member's authority is 0. That will change over time. So we're going to start to see as we compete, we'll be competing using our authority within this realm. So we are here. So Bohemia, minor principality, middle tier, so stable. And again, we sort of want to try to keep, these are, this is in bottom tier, this is aging here. So this is actually just going through the summary of the other member states, Swabia, Saxony, for example. So there's a whole lot of stuff in through here with the emperor sitting in the middle there. So we'll get to this one again when things actually sort of do go through. We've got authority, we've got relationships. So we can sort of see the relationships between all the different members. This is pretty cool, actually. I've never seen this before. So we've got negatives through here. This one here is, it looks like the loyalty is going down a little bit. The others are sort of all okay. Wars, everyone's at peace, and strength. We're sort of looking at the various strengths in through this other side, where people are sort of, at this stage, we're sort of a bit weaker than what we really should be. So we need to sort of get those things strengthened up. So that's just a special set of rules for us. We are a stable minor principality back and through this other side, and so we can either regress if we sort of lose authority. So the authority sort of dictates what happens in through here, where we end up going from a stable minor principality of the Holy Roman Empire down to an unstable principality, where we still end up being a part of the Holy Roman Empire. We've still got imperial roads, but we then go into turmoil. Now we can, if we have good authority, we can start to progress up. and become an ascending minor principality. And from there, we can just keep on sort of ascending further up. So then we go into a young principality, which then takes us, like a little bit higher up. That then allows us then go to a stable principality. And so there's different benefits as we go through ascending principality. And then we then become a young fractious empire. So we can eventually sort of get up to the stage where we're actually then looking at being like imperial, essentially, with what's actually going on. And it goes all the way sort of through all sorts of different progressions, up to young empire, stable empire, ascending empire. And that's sort of like the top level that we could then sort of go and get to, which is very, very cool. So this is actually a really, really cool system in the actual game itself. And so that's the overall progression through the authority. So this is actually all done through the authority. Authority and disorder, this is actually back through this other side. It's just going to open up sort of where we sit in the grand scheme of things, which we don't really need to worry about. This is actually just one of the ledgers. Legacy, this is the score in the game. Not very important on a bit by bit aspect, except now for the great trades, which we sort of spoke about before. Our dynasty age is 7. This is our current leader. And again, if I go and click on the leader, we can then go and see how in the last time we actually had a spouse, and we also had some 3 sons and daughters. Now it's random. We've now got a different group that have now come through. So we often you'll find this in the game. When you do start, you're going to end up with a different sort of aspect about what's going on through here. Now health is only fair. We're 52 years old. Yeah, that's interesting actually. We're admired and focused at this point in time, and we do actually have a son. So this is Menhart. So he is age 15, and so he's going to be essentially our heir at this point in time. So we're not going to be around for very long with what we're sort of looking at through here. But this is in Crusader Kings. This is the focus of the game. In Field of Glory Kingdoms, this is not the focus. This is really just a way of managing your court, but you do this very superficially in this game, whereas in Crusader Kings, this is the main area that you're then sort of playing with in the game. So this is the major difference between the two actual games. Right, so that's that bit in through that side. Then we actually have, this is fairly important to actually understand what's going on. And so you'll sort of see through here, there'll be different information that you'll sort of need to be aware of as you sort of are going through the game. So you got the overview, which just sort of tells you civilization level 2, Catholic, Christian, Bohemian, legacy falling behind, leading is the Holy Roman Empire. So our legacy, our score is we are going backwards. Again, I'm not too concerned about that. And if we hover over these things, like the domain size 5 out of a potential 23. 23 was sort of like where we'd need to be to become like an empire, or to sort of like claim, the German states or something like this. But it's not. It shouldn't really be a goal of ours. Our goal is to be sort of under the maximum domain size for authority gain is 5. We don't want to go beyond that. So 5 is where we currently are. Yeah, we can possible kingdom founding for the Holy Roman Empire if we end up with lots and lots of domains. Kingdom founding required size, actually 25 is what we require there with the different domains. Control the historical region for progress is Libis, back and through this other side. Special status, no domestic spy network. We've got 5 regions, 1 domain. This is a domain, not a domain. So it's a bit confusing, some of these different things. Regions and domains are the same sort of thing, I think is how that's sort of working. We've got 1 vassal. This is actually the pops that we actually have, like 20 peasants, 9 freemen, 5 clergy and 5 nobles. Again, we're going to have 1 clergy, 1 noble for every one of the different domains that we actually end up having. Average loyalty is high at 91, and the average HRE members' authority is 0 at this stage. That'll change over the course of the game. Claims, you should just have only 1. Yeah, so Libis is actually our capital, back and through there. Realm traits, we're then going to sort of see a lot of these things that came in before. So we've sort of got like we're a member of the Holy Roman Empire, we've got imperial roads, we've got the late Bohemian culture, all these different things we looked at before, plus we actually then have the couple of modifiers from our king. The king has got a couple of modifiers in through there. the summed abilities. This is actually really, really important. So when you play any of these games, have a look at this one through here. What this one does, and the main thing you're looking for here is your retinue allowance. Now, by default, it should be 10, but some entities have numbers that are not just 10. And we'll talk about this when we talk about the actual military, because this actually, when you've got the retinue allowance is the cheap units you can actually have, how cheap they can actually be. So current number of standing army units is 5, and the maximum number of standing army units is 9. Now, when we talk about the army, this is actually where you've got to manage this retinue allowance to not have really more than that number in terms of very, very expensive units, because you'll be paying a lot less within that first 10. After that, you'll be paying through the nose. So just be aware that's pretty much where we've got to aim for. And so that's actually very, very important to sort of go that way. We won't worry about any of this other stuff at this point in time. That's not really all that important. We've got no decisions. We've got no reports. So there's nothing much else for us to look at through there. But that summed abilities, retinue allowance, always when you start, just have a quick look at that to see what you've actually then got. Now, we can tweak a few of these numbers right from the start when we just go back into a group. The first time I click, I go to essentially a region. So this is the region of Bohemia, which is sort of showing the... we don't have Kaslav, and we don't have Dulbedy, which is, where's that? That's part of the Holy Roman Empire. I'm not sure where that actually is. Oh, there it is there. And so if we had this and this as well, and Pulsen as well. Now, where's Pulsen? Yeah, this is our this is what we should be aiming to get. So this is actually something that we would like to have. Now, the Holy Roman Empire, this is actually the Emperor's own lands back and through here, so it's going to be hard for us to get these back away from him. But at this stage, we control a fair few. We control all 5 of these, which means we've only really got one big region, big province that we need to control, that we need to manage what we're doing through here. So as long as we've got more than 50%, then we then are in control of the actual province. So for Bohemia, there's still 3 that we don't have control over. So Pulsen, Dilby, and Kaslav. We'll be able to grab Kaslav if we can sort of just get on top of this this maximum domain size for authority gain. And so that's something we do want to sort of have a bit of an aim at. To sort of see how that one does work. The others we can see are sort of all done through here. Now, if you're wanting to micromanage every single province, you can do it. But when you've actually got these regions that you control, if you control more than 50% of the actual domains inside them, you then actually can just do like more of a global type thing. And it's always worth having a governor in there, so a peer of the realm. And so we've got 3 different areas: administration, military, and piety. And so we want somebody that's good in all of these different areas, really. So we want a bit of a balance. Now, if we had lots of problems where there was other cultures right next to us in terms of different religions, then piety would become very, very important. But it's probably of the least important. So you can see there, military provides experience to newly recruited units. So that was going to be fairly critical. Administration increases local stewardship and maximum national domain size. So by putting the right sort of person there with high administration, we're going to be able to tweak that maximum domain size of 5 and be able to get extra. So let's go and do that in that one now. We'll just go and click, and what this will then be, it'll then show the different people from our court. So these are different courtiers that we end up having. There's Menhart is going to show up. This is our son, who's 15, and so he actually has administration there of 4, military of 3, and piety of 3, which is probably about average. Like I've got a 4-3-4. I've got a 5-1-4, so poor with military back and through there. Menhart's actually not bad. 5-1-4 there again as well. 5-0-3. But having the military, like I'm telling you, like in reality, putting him in charge there is not a bad thing. I don't think he's a strategist. So he gets a defence bonus if he was actually leading an army. That's the other thing. We've got to look and see who's going to actually be leading the armies as well. So if we have a bit of a look, we've got we're looking for. There's a 1-1 there, like you can see at the court, offensive rating 1, defensive rating of 1, with what we're sort of seeing through this other side. In fact, we might just do this one through this panel to start with. So again, we've got loyalty. It's like their known loyalty, their health. So we can sort of see what their health is like. Charge, what they're in charge of. And so in this case, this one here is a has got actually this one's actually good. He's already leading the army. He's got an offensive rating of 2 and a defensive rating of 1. We have got a 1-1 in through here, and Menhart is a 2-0. So again, good at attacking but not good at defending. This one here is good at attacking and pretty good at defence. 0-1, 0-1. There will be others as well that can be hidden away. 1-1. Yeah, so he's the best really in terms of leading the actual leading the army. Sometimes there'll be other things like this is a educated, so a piety bonus of 10%, stewardship bonus of 10% if he was the administrator of that location. So I'm happy to keep him in charge of the army, and I'm happy to put Menhart in charge of the actual of Bohemia itself as our governor. So let's just go and apply that one through there. So he will now just go through. There's no real negatives with chopping and changing that. So we've now got an authority there of 4. So you can see there, current admin provides plus 20 local authority and plus 4 allowed domain size for authority gain. So now when we hover over our authority, see how the domain size, like the planned authority changes, it's gone from 1.8 to 1.9. That's because we're now under the domain size that we actually have. The current domain size is 5, but the maximum domain size with having him in charge is actually now 6. So we can actually sort of now just go and get an extra one through there. So we can just go and choose to take that extra location, which we might as well grab, and just that way we can then sort of start to develop it up as well. So that's sort of like just managing the initial bits and pieces. Now when it first all comes in, it's really just got all these open slots. We can control this ourselves. If you don't want to be doing that one, I'm thinking if you're sort of new to the game, you probably don't really need to manage that one too much. You can tell them what to do. So you can focus on different things. So peasants and freemen will be mostly focused on food production. In this case, they could be focused on infrastructure. So depending on what we're trying to do, and at this stage I just want to balance an overall balanced look of it. So at the moment we've got this one, deactivate automated population management. So what the pops will do, and I'll just go into Prague and have a bit of a look. So the pops, when we come, I'll just try to explain how this one does sort of work. At the moment in Prague itself, we have a whole lot of different things actually applying to this one through here. The growth is going to come in 15 turns. This is actually a feature of the stockpile that we end up with the food coming in. At the moment, we've got 31 food production, so 30 base food production from with the population, 1 base food production for the structures. So one of our populations here, and we don't have any impediments, do we? Not in this one. So we get 1 food from fallow fields. You can see there it's just got 1. And so we're getting 31 in through there. We have a 4% national modifiers for food, negative 20 food usage from the population, because we've got 20 population that we're actually feeding. Now that can be outside of this, because we're part of a provincial area now. That can now be sharing its food. And so it's got 12 there for the overall regional food production. 10 nat change after provincial food distribution, and we have a stockpile there of 31 as well. So the 31 sort of goes in through there. And so all of these have got the same sorts of thing, like money, 34 coming through there. We can see exactly why. If we got a freeman, these are the guys in the red. So this is a Bohemian Catholic Christian freeman. I can move it into different areas, and you can see through here, I can't move it onto this side and through this other side. This is agriculture in the top area. And so we've got the food production through there. This is more infrastructure and mining, etc. So if I move that one, I lose 5 productivity from that location, but I can put him into +5 in here to get more infrastructure, to get more things back out of here. So if I just go and do that one, you'll see that this will go from the +12 down to +7 because we lose the 5, but this has gone up to +38. So we can sort of get more of them in through there. I can put them down into here as well, where we actually end up sort of getting like +6. That's going to then change the money, so at the expense of these other things. But I'll just keep it where it is for now. So I'll just go and throw it back up where it actually was. So we've got like different groups. This is actually a Bohemian Jewish freeman. This is actually then Catholic Christian freeman. I can through this other side. So you've got different types of population. There is a slight conversion chance, and again, if we have high piety, the chance of converting that one across is going to help us a little bit. If I go and click on this one through here, you can see there we do slightly more in the infrastructure with these Catholic Christian freemen in this instance, but not a hell of a lot. Now back on the other side, so these can actually sort of operate anywhere in these different areas. We also then have a clergy pop over through this other side, and so these are actually producing 28 production through there. I can move them over to here if I'm wanting to, but it will then impact the piety of the region. So I'm pretty better off not doing anything with that one through there. So I'm just going to keep that one where that one is. And then also down through here, we have a noble. And if I click on the noble, he can also then move across into and help with the money, like getting money from here. He can also move up to here, which is sort of like going to help with our military. So if we needed to sort of go and boost the military, in fact, if I just go and do that one, you'll see that equipment goes up. So he's actually now working on equipment, but our stewardship will go down. And the stewardship is really important in terms of the overall authority and sort of like getting the authority sort of working around the place. So think very carefully before you start to move these guys out of this area here. Stewardship is very, very important. It's one of these dark art type things in the game. Sorry, I'm actually covering what's sort of going on with the tooltip there. But anyway, this one actually has stewardship, sort of works hand in hand with authority, and you do want to have high stewardship to keep stability in what you've got. So be wary of changing these around. And again, we've got the different buildings. We can sort of see we've got the domain court, we've got King's Residence. Some of these may sort of be a drain on money. Like we've got wood cutting through there, which is fine. Mining exploitation, it's costing us a little bit of gold in through this other side, less money. Needs wood, imported from Prague, imported from here, costing us 2 money, but the 2 money gets paid to us anyway. So this is a prerequisite for all mines except the bog iron deposit. So we actually can ultimately lead up. So if we go and have a look at this particular building, this one is a precursor. Like it's not very good on its own, but it can then lead to a lead mine. And so we can actually have a look at the different ones. In fact, you can see through there that this one can be a lead, copper, tin, iron, silver mine, gold mine, depending on what we actually sort of end up finding. In fact, we've already got one. We've got a copper mine there. So the copper mine through here is actually where that mining exploitation has then led to this one coming back through, where we're sort of now getting other bonuses. The health goes down, but infrastructure goes up, and we end up getting more metal, and metal is very, very important for our military. So we end up getting more metal in through here. So we've got regional production of 4, intrinsic production of 2, so the total metal production we have is 6, and some of that is coming from this copper mine. We also then have a craftsman's burrow, and again this can then lead to other different sorts of mining operations as well, but so just with the craftsmen. And then we also then have imperial roads, which is sort of what we get throughout the Holy Roman Empire, which sort of just is going to give us a bit of a bonus to other aspects of what we are doing. So when you're new to the game, just have a bit of a read of all these different things. And now, particularly now that you've got this building, this way of actually checking the building. So again, just to sort of open up that building browser, go and click on something, and then go and click on the big icon at the top, and you'll then actually have it there to see what you can then sort of go and grab from it. So this one doesn't lead to anything else, but it just requires leather. And if we just go and hover over what it's got, so money 7, needs leather, which is missing, so it's costing me 8 money from that one through there. Missing bonus of 2 money from furs and pelts. So there's a few little things there that we could start to look for if we wanted to, but we don't need to do that one if we don't want to. By the way, if you do find that you've got things that you just really don't have, if this was costing me money, it doesn't really give me any other bonus other than money. So if it wasn't making money, I'd probably delete it, because unless we had an option to then go and get leather or furs and pelts to sort of be able to then do something else with that. So anyway, that's just purely Prague itself with the basics of the pops. Again, you don't have to micromanage it. We can go and actually build a specific building in here if we're wanting to. So we have different things in through here. Sometimes there'll be, like this is a craftsman's district, which is going to cost us a lot of money, but it is going to then ultimately give us a lot more infrastructure. So this one, again, may lead to other things. So if we have a look at the craftsman's district, we probably needed to have this craftsman's burrow. So the craftsman's burrow leads to the craftsman's district, and then the craftsman's district is back in through here as well. So we can sort of see again the process of how this would then sort of play out and how that would then sort of go and work. But in this stage, we're not really ready for that yet. So rather than actually going and building all this out myself, certainly if I only had like 1 or 2 domains that were outside of having anyone manage it, I can just go and if I just go back across to the province. So the province is being controlled by our son. I can tell him, okay, look, just do a balanced shuffle of the population. And what we'll see through here is, when I sort of hover it up through here, these different pops will then change from these different columns that they're in into other columns. So let's just quickly go and do that one and just see what actually changes. And so you'll see there that some of these have now been changed into generating more money. And now we've gone up to plus 60 because he's now balancing the various pops that are in here. And if we have a look at, so for example, at Lebis, we can then sort of see that they've moved down one of the freemen down into the bottom area. We do actually have a bandit lair here. Actually, we'll talk about this in just a minute. So we'll come back to Lebis and have a look at what we need to do in that particular location to address that one. Actually, where are we? If I zoomed on out. So he has now shuffled to get what he considers to be a better balance of the different populations into different working groups. So the food is now going to be plus 32 in this instance, which is probably going to be diminished a little bit from some of the freemen, but we are now getting more money, and infrastructure is still about the same. If we now go and that's he didn't change any of the clergy or any of the actual nobles as well, so they're just staying with where they are. We then also have the buildings. Like, we've got all these different open slots to build different buildings, and so I can again just go in and actually just choose what I want. But again, I can just go and say, okay, look, I want you to focus on whatever type of building it actually might be. So let's just go again to balance, and he will then go. He's wanting to get fallow fields in Liberic, a pigsty in Lebis, and we can sort of see there what the changes are likely to sort of end up being. Leather workshop is going to be done at Litomeris, and that's going to then get leather for that shoe shop. We've got 3 open slots there. They're not building it in Prague. He's just holding on. There's nothing good enough, and he's got to start in through here. So we're getting a lot of food locations being built up for that particular location. So we're ending up focusing more on food in the long term. And again, I don't need to worry about this. I can just leave him to, when they come up, I can always go and say, hang on, no, I prefer you not to do fallow fields there. I can actually go in and change that if I wanted to tweak something different. So I can actually override what they're doing, but I don't really need to. Actually, here's another impediment. Let's have a look at impediments, because these are now new in the game. So if we go across to the impediments, so impediments are going to have this sort of little sort of this wolf symbol in the corner, and so this is a rocky outcrop, which gives us less food. We can't just ditch it, and so these are not something you can just go and disassemble. So you're going to have to deal with them. These can, depending on who you're playing as, can be actually a good thing. If you are playing as like a tribe or something like that, you may find that it gives you an opportunity to find like a trade good from it. But not for us. We want to get rid of it. In this case, the farmland is broken up by rocks and boulders, making cultivation difficult. Impediment counts as a tier 1 infrastructure healthcare building. So essentially its food is what we end up getting with this rocky outcrops. Has a chance to be removed each term with the presence of a stonemason, which we don't actually have. A terraced farm field, which we don't have up through there either. We are building a fallow fields. A cobblestone road paver, again, it's another building we could sort of go and try to go and find, or can be removed using the remove natural obstacle regional decision. So if we end up with a card to remove it, we can get rid of it that way as well. But we actually do have a chance if we do actually end up with a stonemason. So we could be thinking, okay, well, how do we get a stonemason here? Let's just go and click on this one through this other side. That's the one we were looking at before. So this was a mason. Stonemason, what do we need? This is going to be a tier 1. It comes from a craftsman's burrow. So need stone. Trading required can be imported from Leipzig, so that's just from stone. Requires 3 population or more. Development cornerstone, so structure, construction, reduction in infrastructures. Okay, having stonemason in the community is a big advantage. Blah blah blah. But that one, if we can get that one, we do end up going a little bit further. So this one here, we've got the So the Craftsman's Burrow will then end up allowing us to go and get all these different sorts of buildings. So if we can if we can get a Craftsman's Burrow, it's step one to potentially getting, through a bit of luck, getting a stonemason. So stonemason can then sort of be picked from amongst that big long list of different buildings that are sort of shown up through there. So we can now be on the lookout for that if we want to. So that's something we can actually sort of have a bit of a look at. So there's no benefit for us having this this rocky outcrop. Let's just go from location to location, just see if there's any other negatives. Here's another one as well. This is severe ravines. This one here gives us lower money and lower infrastructure. So it has a chance to be removed each term with the presence of a toll bridge. So we've got this one, a terrace farm field, a cobblestone road paver. So that's another one there where the cobblestone road paver has been mentioned, and the terrace farm field. Or can be removed using the remove natural obstacle regional decision. So getting that decision would be fairly cool to sort of get that one. Back in through here, we did actually have, there was nothing negative there. Where was it? Was it in here? Yeah, it's this one here. So this one is actually a different one. This is actually a bandit lair. And so bandits are present in this region and will regularly steal and bully the local population and until they are dealt with. So in this one here, it's costing us food, it's costing us money, and it is costing us stewardship, which is going to then impact our authority, our local authority in this region. And so we also have a regional loyalty penalty of 5 because of these guys. And so in this case, bandits are present in this region will regularly steal and bully the local population until they are dealt with. And so it can be removed with the presence of an army worth at least 100 combat power with 20% success each per term. Has a chance to be removed each term with the presence of a local watch, a town watch, or a night watch. And so we don't actually have that one. We've got a fortified village, got an alarm bell, but we don't actually have a local watch, a town watch, or a night watch. Can be removed using a remove hostiles regional decision. So that's another card we can then go and pick up if we needed to. So the easiest way for us to do that is to try to get our military up to 100 combat power or above that, and then deal with that one. So let's actually go and now look at the army, because again, when you're first starting off, you are going to be wanting to get a relatively strong and balanced army. That's important that you do go for balance. So let's go and click on the actual army itself. Now we saw there we have we've got Radislav is actually our general, who is not related to us, but he is actually just a general that we've actually got associated with the actual army itself. What have we got there? We can rename. Oh, that's the army itself. That's okay. So in this case, he actually is great at attacking and okay at defence, which is fine. When we have a look at the actual makeup of the army, now there's 3 different main types of units in the army, and they're sort of colour coded. So you can see through here, for example, these yellow ones, or the gold ones through here, will be standing army units. And so the heavy crossbowmen, we've got like heavy crossbowmen in through there. We've got, this is early spearmen, defensive spearmen. These are also going to be standing units. You can see the heavy infantry standing army unit. And this one's here are sergeants. This is going to be our cavalry. And these are also standing army unit, combat power of 11. Back in through this other side. We've got 3, 4, 5 in terms of these sort of fairly strong units. So we've got 5, we've got up to 10 that we can have. It's going to be fairly cheap for us. We also then have these raw early levy spearmen, and these come through in this sort of silver colour, and so these are levies. And there's one other group which is mercenaries. And so if we go and have a look at the, if we just go and hover that one, get rid of that one for a second. If I go to where this one actually is, if I go to Bohemia, I can then go and actually go and build up the various units. And you'll see there we've got bonus XP for heavy cavalry. We've got pretty much bonus XP across the board for any unit that is built in this location. If we go into here, for example, and then go and do it, you'll see that actually it's still 10 everywhere. Is it 10 even over here? Oh, yeah, it is actually. I thought it was going to be a bit different as we move away from the capital. But in this case, if I go to the actual location and go to start to build them up, these are the different forces we can have. And again, if we look on the lookout for different buildings, we can see there that we've actually got early knights and sergeants, which would be fairly powerful. If I go and click on that one, these are very, very strong. These would be great to get hold of. And these are also standing army units. At the moment, we have our sergeants, which are only 11 power. But these guys here they cost a fortune, like 145, and then the upkeep is very high as well. Actually, that font is now. Oh, there we go. Yeah, the cost is 143. The upkeep is 32. But if they're inside that retinue limit, then it costs us a lot less. So, and so you can see there, money cost increase with each active unit of this type, plus 15%. So for these very, very high power units, this is like every one of those we get, the cost goes up accordingly. So we can't have too many of them in the actual army itself. Other ones won't actually have that same sort of problem. But these ones here, to get hold of these, we need to either have a rudimentary fort, a rustic ringwork, a castle, wallburg, shell keep, things like this. If we have a look to see, can we build in any of these locations one of those forts, that would actually be ideal for us to go and sort of try to go and do that one. If we go into here again and have a look at the province itself, or the region for Prague. So that would be in here. This is fortified manor. If we just have a quick look and see, if we look at rudimentary fort, this is only tier 1, and it has to come from a fortified manor. So we've already got the fortified manor through here. So there's a chance we could pick up the rudimentary fort through here. This will then unlock the early knights and sergeants, the sergeants and early spearmen. So we end up getting a bit of an unlock if we can go and grab one of these. So that's actually not too difficult for us to ultimately go and try to get. So that's actually, that would be something we should be aiming for. Again, if we have a look and see, that will be under military through here, tournament ground. By the way, there's other things you can do through here as well with the, so this is a tournament ground in through this other side. It's not going to give us what we want in the sense of what's going to actually happen through here. We do get more stewardship and equipment, but it's not going to help us in other ways. So I can, if I'm wanting to, pick the building of your choice at the cost of national authority. Now, we don't actually have any authority at this stage, but I can go into here and see, is there anything I can go and grab from my military tab and try to get the fort that way. So if it was something that could be done, like we've got a blacksmith, we've got a barracks, so we'll allow heavy infantry, levy heavy infantry to be properly armed. So nothing there at this point in time. So it's a bit of sort of random stuff. Actually, there's a reinforced palisade. Still not going to be enough. Still not what we want. So unfortunately, we don't actually have the ability to go and get the fort. But if we really, really needed it, we could eventually sort of find our way to go and get that rudimentary fort built sort of over the top or with the fortified manor. So that's sort of where we are. Let's just go back to the province. Just go back to the region and just go back to the queue. And so in this case, we end up with, so that is our top level unit. This one here also requires this early spearman defensive. The ones in green are the ones we can go and get. So we have a irregular eastern foot. These are just going to be little light sort of skirmisher type units back and through this other side. These are levies. And levies, the way that levies work is that they essentially are quick and easy to recruit. They don't really go up in level, and so they sort of are there to be raised when you need them urgently, and then sort of gotten rid of after combat. So these guys can be usually raised pretty quickly. So this is just a regular eastern foot. Cost me 9 money initially, 20 manpower initially, one of the metal production, and 15 of the equipment, which should be around here as well somewhere. Not sure where that is. I think that's just in a per. Actually, we've got 20. We're getting plus 25 equipment back in through there at this stage. So that would be what would be required to go and grab one of these. Then after that, we end up having an upkeep cost of keeping them in the field. This is also a levy spearman, and this is just raw. So these are not going to be very powerful. They're a lot more powerful than these guys. These are rated at 9. And again, if we press press control, is it control over this one? Or right click to enter the queue, no, left click for details. That is the details there actually. We can sort of see different abilities that they've actually got through this other side. So these are a bit more defensive. These guys here are pretty poor in defence. These are ones that are strong in defence. They have different like siege values and so on and so forth as well. But these are fairly poor. Again, these are just levies. Then we've got the raw levies crossbowmen, again a bit more expensive with what we're sort of seeing through there. Then we've got the heavy crossbowmen. These are mercenaries. Mercenary units are going to cost a fortune. So these actually cost a lot of money, but not much else. So initially this would cost a lot of money plus equipment, and again money cost increases with each active unit. So this is actually the mercenary unit that we have available to us, and then we actually have our sergeants in through here. Which are these are just standing army units. So what we may decide to do is actually try to get a few more of these. We don't have any great, like, until we can get this fort. Like, this fort is going to be fairly important for us to then go and get the higher level units. We may not want to get too much other, like as in recruiting many of these different things until we actually get this fort. So let's leave that one where that is for now. So we won't actually go and queue anything up. But certainly at some point in the game you are going to be needing to do that one. If we go across to our cards and have a bit of a look at the regional decisions, we've got two different types. We've got recruit local units, and so what these ones do, recruit the regional, using this regional decision you'll be able to get between 1 and 4 provincial units depending on their strength, even if there is no formed province here. These units will not be mercenaries, in contrast to the ones recruited through the recruitment queue. So what mercenaries are we going to get from here? The mercenaries we're going to get is, if we just, oops, I didn't mean to do that, and if I just go back in and click on that one, I can just get rid of that. I don't want to do that one just yet, so let's just go back and have another look at the province. So the provincial unit is the Bohemian Mercenary Crossbowmen. So if I play that card, I'm going to get more of those. Do I need more of those? I've already got 3 of them. I don't need more of them, even though these are actually standing units. The other one that would come in would also be a standing unit. So I don't really need more of these crossbowmen. So that card there is not vital to me, this local units. The non-standard units, though, this may be worth actually doing. So these ones here have a very, very diverse range. So I can only really apply it through here. And form specialised troops to elite guards, to fighting slaves, or brigands. It could be anything. So early armoured spearmen would be good. Early spearmen would be okay. Heavy crossbowmen again. Light crossbowmen, archers and light archers. So it's not dramatic, but if we want to get rid of the brigands that are sort of roaming around in Labisse, we're going to need to get this one over 100. So what we might do is, I think we'll actually go and pop that one in there. So you've played recruit. It's going to cost, its cost will be deducted once it triggers, 50 money, 20 manpower. So we're going to be using up 20 of our manpower and with 50 of our money to then go and play that particular card. We've still got one more of these cards, but I can't really play it anywhere else. So I can only really play it at that location. So so we'll play that one next turn and just see what we get. It's a bit of a lucky dip. Need to have a friendly leader in the region, and so this will depend on where we actually sort of play these cards ultimately. So let's just go and leave that one through there. Now this location here, we can see that this one has got garrison militia defence 15 units. Now we don't have 15 units, so let's just get our army. We've only got 7 units. That's going to be a bit of a difficult one for us to then go and take on at this point in time. We'll have that as our target though. So that's pretty much initially. That's all we really need to go and do. So we've just to recap, we've gone through and just checked our money. We've made somebody in charge of the actual province. We've gone into the province and actually just put them in for balancing through here. But we can change that if we really wanted to. So we've sort of got those established. We could even go through and have a quick look at each of these locations and just see, was there any other things where we could have gotten like anything better? I don't think we can. No, we do not. Without actually having a group in through there, we're not going to sort of see it. So I'll just leave that one where that actually is. Just quickly go across. This one has got a baronial vassal, fortified village, we'll allow barracks, tournament grounds. Yeah, still not going to give us what we want. Oh, yeah, there we go. Rudimentary guardhouse. Yeah, no, still not going to get there. No, that's okay. I just was thinking, is there anything else we could grab but I'll just leave it where that actually is. And so at this point in time, we've pretty much now run our turn. What we're going to do is there's not really a lot to read. Like if I just go and click on this one here, I can just sort of go and like often it'll just appear on the side here with the messages. But we'll have a look at the messages as of next turn. So we'll end our turn. Now all of the different factions will now start to figure out what they want to do. So Raygun Rob is saying, thanks for that distinction, Daz. I don't like the focus on family stuff in Crusader Kings. Yeah, look, they're different. Crusader Kings is much more about roleplay. This game is much more about strategy and tactics. So NCA Project saying that Harabis guy is a good administrator for infrastructure bonus. Yeah, there's a few different things in through there. Hi, Plastic Gangster, how you going? So Plastic Gangster saying, okay, it does work. I couldn't put a comment in. So recruiting German troops. So recruiting German troops is a good idea. The bonus meaning they are decent warriors, right? It depends on really, like at this stage, it comes down to the different class of troop that you end up getting. The actual the interesting thing with this game is actually it's more, and you can see it if you open up Field of Glory Medieval, which is where you can play the battles. So the way the game works is you plan your turn. It's in a WeGo system where essentially everything moves at once, and then different things play out. In this instance, we've now gone up one. We've got +1 in through here with Bohemia, so we're sort of in the middle area of the actual map. You can see there some of the other ones are getting a lot more authority than what we are. So we need to get our authority up to move it into this top tier. What we want to do is get these progress tokens so we can start to sort of advance. Legacy is not that important to us, so we'll just leave that where that actually is. So we'll just go and click on OK. But so the actual units themselves sort of don't matter that much. Where it does matter, and we're not going to be able to see it because they're too far away, is you do actually have full-on Vikings, like Viking type units, for example, in Norway, whereas England will have proto-type Viking units that aren't as powerful. So you've got different classes with things that do go on. Now we can see through here again, I'll just go through the first things that I like to do when I start up any of these actual turns. Any event that comes up is going to show in through here. So in Prague, Bohemia's enlisted talented combatants, so they show a variety of skills. You've received a new regional decision, prospect for resources. So this is actually something we can then go and play. This is a card we can go and play. If we go back to the resources we actually end up having, let's have a look at everything else though. The fallow fields in Litomis are now used by the peasants. Their rich soil providing a bountiful harvest of 75 food. So we've got more food than we thought we would get. We also have messages on the right-hand side. So you've received a new regional decision, prospect for resources. If I go and click on that one, it's then going to open up the resource decisions that we end up having. So the first one that we have, this new one, the region has still some untapped potential and resources yet to be discovered may abound. If only we prospect the land entirely, depending on the terrain, we may find a new place to exploit a trade good or perhaps neutralise a detrimental natural site. So the region must be owned. The region must have a total population count between 1 and 30. And so essentially, I won't play that one just yet, but that's one that we could actually look. It may remove some of those weird ones that we've got. Like if we have a look in through here, we have that one wasn't it. This one here. I don't know if severe ravines will actually end up, let's remove natural obstacle decision. I don't think that will actually then work. This one here was, we've just got the mining exploitation. This one here with the rocky outcrops, we may find something else in through this other side as well. So this one, there's a chance that it may get removed. I'm just not sure. What we want to do though is we want to make sure that we've got enough building slots to be able to exploit whatever it actually is. And so in this case, you can sort of see that we've got building slots. We've got 4 out of a possible 9. So we've got five left over in there, and this one over through here. We've got 3 slots left there. We've got 6 slots left over here. Let's go and play that card here and just see what we end up finding. So, and again, there may be things like, is that going to likely to be targeted at some point? Maybe. But let's just go and play that card right now. So prospect for resources. I'm just going to play that one there. So you've played prospect for resources. It's going to cost me 100 money and 10 manpower. So my manpower is going to go down. Money's going to go down even more than what we had, so that's okay. All right, so that's we'll just leave that one where that actually is. So that's the message system. Now I'm going to show you something that actually I find really valuable in this game, and it's probably a bit too early to really have a good look at it. But that message system that sort of comes up on here, where we can see different things happening, is what's affecting us, and we can actually tweak what we see here. So if we go down to the message system in the bottom left hand corner and have a look at that, this is all of the different filtering that actually does go on. Let's just go and expand. Whoops, hang on. We should be able to expand it up. Where is it? That reduces it. Previous turn, this turn only. I don't know if it's going to show it there. It's got like a lot more that gets shown with that. I'm sure there was a way to actually to make this one even bigger again. Oh, hang on. We'll get back to it. These are this is essentially the message system from around the place. Now we're looking at explicit broadcast, view message relevant to your nation or general broadcasts. We can then go and open it up even further. So this is actually where we are. So we're looking at broadcasts that are going to be pretty much affecting just us. So citing an ancient wrong. So the Holy Roman Empire declares war against Tuscany, and so there will be possibly one down this way as well. So let me look to see if I can sort of find one. There's one over here, for example. So the drums of war sound as Hungary declares open hostilities to Croatia. So there's another one. This is what we're just seeing on the map at the moment. I'll try to sort of explain how these ones do work. Yeah, so this one did declare war against Tuscany, and the battle is joined. So this is actually, so the Holy Roman Empire has sort of done that one. So we'll see anything around the map that directly affects sort of like us or what's close to us will then show up. But we don't have to be limited to this, and this can be really quite interesting to sort of do this in the game, just to sort of see what's going on. So when you open this one up, we've got the Hungary, we've got in Prague, Bohemia's listed the talented combatants. We'll look at that in just a minute. Received a new regional decision, prospect for resources, which we'll now use, and the fallow fields, we saw those before. So the three that we saw in through here are showing up, but we also have this one and this one. But there's a lot more that we can actually see in this. If we go to the Allied, view messages concerning your allies and vassals, if we go to that one through there, we may see other messages coming up. So this is actually purely from the perspective of sort of like our neighbours, our closest neighbours, not seeing anything at all showing up, or foreign, view messages unrelated to you or your allies. And there's going to be heaps and heaps and heaps of them. And now all over the map, we're going to start to sort of see different messages. In fact, we can sort of see them down through here. So, you know, and again, it becomes overwhelming. So 45 different messages. So Venice has set up several new fondaccies. So this is back and through here. And so there's one there. So there's a message there. What other messages are there? So this is Venice sort of doing things. So inspired by Solomon's royal figures. Okay, so this is going to be Ethiopia. So there may be another one down this way. Yep, so that's a message down there in Ethiopia. So this is like, again, other messages. So we can start to sort of see religious agitators in sober. So we can start to see actually a bigger, broader perspective of the game itself by opening up these messages. So I would get in the habit of doing these every so often. By default, it starts off with just explicit broadcast with you. It also has message importance. This is only the important messages for us. If I go and go back up to our location and open up more of them, so because quite often people actually don't realise how deep the game can be, and if you just leave it on default, you're going to see only very, very superficial information. If all you're wanting to do is just rattle through the game as fast as you can, that's fine. If you're wanting to sort of try to get more immersive with the game, then start to open up these other ones. So message importance, we now can get top and average. We now have 20 different messages now sort of showing up in around the place. So we have our top messages in the top, swords are drawn and spilled between, as Russ and the Chipax engage in a fierce struggle. So we're sort of now getting messages back over through here. So we can start to see more and more and more information around about the world with different things happening. The vassalage between BR and Hungary meant it was only a matter of time before BR fought against Croatia. That may have been what started that war with them. So they've actually now sort of are going up against Croatia itself. Hungary demanded the vassal. Slovakia answered his call. Slovakia and Croatia are now at war too. So they're bringing in their different vassals. So Hungary is actually bringing in its different vassals against Croatia. So we can start to see more of what's going on. We're not just isolated. If you start to sort of draw these things in and start to look at other other information. This one here, for example, privileged trade with our vassal Moravia nets us a total of 5 money worth of merchandise. And so this is something we didn't see. This is not an important message. It's a medium level message, but we do end up with a little bit of extra money coming back in from that trade, which will it show it there? Vassal commerce 5, about halfway down, a bit more than halfway down. So we're seeing that in the message system. This is a very, very good way to almost read it like a bit of a story of what's going on from turn to turn. We also then have, we can then go and make it so that we end up with getting the top, the average, and the low importance, which is also will then sort of give us even more information potentially. Don't think we'll sort of see much in through here with our stuff. Over the course of the game, though, you will start to find more and more information. There's now 42 messages sort of showing different things around the map with those different messages. Over time, that will then start to, the forces of Tuscany having long planned for this day, now engage Verona in battle. So they're actually, Tuscany is essentially going to be at war with a lot of different units now. So they're going to be having a bit more of a problem with what's going on. Again, we'll just go back to the top messages in through there. We can also then go, this is this turn only, but we can also go and have a look back at historical messages as well. We can go back through history to see, that's where we sort of started with. But this is, and again, when you're playing the game, it keeps about 10 years of, or 10 turns of messages. So if you are wanting to try to understand why something happened, sometimes you can go back through previous turns to see that one. But this is quite a powerful little system to sort of see what's actually going on around the place. You also then can filter movements and operations. So we've got nothing there. Battles and aftermaths back into this other side. Logistics, regions and provinces. So that, again, the fallow fields. Diplomacy. So again, we've got the talented combatants back through there, foreign matters, and then we've got the life and death as well. So the various different messages are coming through. This is a very, 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 very good system in terms of getting an understanding of the game. And it's not really something that people tend to look at very much, but it actually it works very, very well. So that's just the bottom corner there. So like you'll probably find a level that you're interested in, depending on the sort of the size of the empire that you're playing as. But use it, because that will actually, it will enhance your enjoyment of the game to actually play that one through there. So they've got. I'll just read a few more of the comments there. So Jerry's saying, how did you change the font? It's fairly simple. You just basically load it into one of the directories. I forget what it's called. Like, I think it's called core or something, and then just change. There's a font.txt file. I'll actually, when I've tweaked it, I'll actually upload it onto my coffee.com page, just so that you can actually people can just download it then and just use it if they wanted to. But it's actually quite simple. Just put like the true type fonts together in a bit of a collection. Just change the text file. It really takes minutes. It's not very long to do it, but I'll get that uploaded. So Nin Japan is saying, good day. Is this easy to pick up if you've already played Empire? Empire's harder to play. Empire has got mechanics in it that are a bit more counterintuitive in terms of trade. So you don't actually have, like when in this game, if you make a resource, like one resource, you can use one resource to do something. So you can only use it once. So if you need 3 wood, and you've only got 1 wood that you build that you've got access to, only one of those woods will be applied. So whereas in Empires, you used to be able to bring them in, they'd then share it amongst all of their neighbours and stuff like that. That's all gone. So this game is much more logical in the sense of understanding how things work than Empire. So it's simpler in that sense. It's also got much more depth than Empire in terms of the other mechanics. Like, for example, we haven't looked at military yet, but we will fairly soon. And so military can actually have a big bearing on the way that the game actually does play out. And I think there's a new change in the updates, which we haven't actually had a look at yet with military, which I'm looking forward to sort of see how that one does actually work. Okay, so Nedland's saying it's complicated as a space shuttle. Hi Reggie, saying good day Daz, I've taken the day off to dive into the new DLC. Yeah, it's impressive actually, and also not just the DLC but the update. The update is very, very impressive. And so yeah, so Min Japan is saying love the artwork. Does make a difference and prefer it to playing spreadsheet or pixel games, no matter how wonderful the systems are. Actually, one thing we might do is, because people were complaining about this the other day, you can turn this off to just look at the actual map itself. So I might just do that for a little while. We're not in any sort of, like, we sort of got an understanding of where our borders actually are. So yeah, this is where we want to go into this forested territory. So I'll talk a little bit about how that aspect kicks into the game as well, playing in the different regions. So this is certainly a cleaner way of looking at the game. Maybe I should even show the way these actually do work. So the first one here is actually the ownership, like what groups own what territories and how they sort of then impact the actual game itself. The second one is culture, essentially. So we're looking at the Bohemian culture back and through this other side. Back and through here, we're going to end up with the Central German. This is going to be Franconian. So you can sort of see the various cultures. We're talking up through here about Frisian, Flemish, down this way as well. So you've got the different cultures. Now, this is not really anything too important, but this is why Bohemia wants to control all of this ultimately, because this is all Bohemian culture that we sort of see through that side. This is not a very important tab in the grand scheme of things. It can be if you're playing like in the Reconquista, like for Spain or something like this to here, where you've got like a lot of differences in culture, big differences between the Ibero-Latin population or Castilian culture, and then you've actually sort of got like a Muslim sort of culture down the other side. But there's other tabs for that as well. And so the numbers here sort of relate to the population. So we can see the actual population of those cultures. Then we've actually got supply, so supply overlay. For us, we've got no real problem because, and with our vassal as well. The vassal's bigger than I thought it was actually. That's good. Free building slots, and again we can sort of see what's happening through this other side. And again, if I hover over that one, I can sort of see what's going on. So we've got the orange colour, so idle region outside of a domain with a free slot. So we could be building in here if we wanted to, but we can use the infrastructure from here because we've actually got the Menhart actually looking after things. He can use the leftover infrastructure from this location to then go and build up the other buildings. So that's actually why he doesn't need to go and always build something at every location. He can, like when we're looking after a region like this, he can pool the actual infrastructure that's not being used from Prague to actually then go and help the construction elsewhere. So that's why when you see this, it's not really a big problem, but you can just hover over to see what the colours actually are. This one here is loyalty, and so we're going to have, it's reasonable loyalty there. It's sort of, it's loyal everywhere through here. That's interesting. That's actually not as loyal as they would hope. We've got the movement overlay. This is actually the cost of moving things around. And again, if I hover over that one through there, this is regions are color coded according to their terrain. So you can sort of see that number is the movement points needed to enter a region. So it takes 2 movement points for us to move around in those mid regions, 3 to move into the forests, for example. Stars denote the cost, denotes a potential discount from a road. Because we've got imperial roads in Bohemia, if I go and click on Bohemia, so we've got these imperial roads, we're getting a discount for movement in this location here. We only have it in that one location, so we don't actually have it anywhere else. So that's the movement. Then we've got the weather overlay. Not going to really worry us too much. This is the domains overlay, so we can sort of see the various like areas in through this other side. Again, looking at the different sorts of selections. This is, if we ended up with this one down through here, this is this group. grouping through here, so it can be helpful if you are looking to take over a location to try to make use of the of what we have in this case by having the actual the peer of the realm looking after like a region. So if we did manage to take all of these, he would still look after the whole lot. If we got into here, we'd probably be wanting to take 3 of those to be able to then go and pick up the rest of them essentially and have somebody else looking after that. So that's sort of how that one works. This one here is the trade goods overlay. This is useful again if you're trying to sort of find where things are, what they do. And again, we've got different, so you can see where the trade goods are produced and what regions have missing trade goods in red. So if we are missing anything, we can sort of then have a bit of a look to see, okay, what do we need? This can be useful again, just in terms of if you are sort of really focusing on the trade. I'll try not to do that too much in this run because it's going to be a little bit. It's just going to complicate what we're doing. So yeah, that's going to be. You might want to inspect the regions in red. So if we do actually have regions in red through here, so the blue regions, actually what does this one show us in through here? In red, regions with 3 or more missing trade goods cost a lot of money to sustain, so we don't actually have that. In orange, regions with 1 or 2 missing goods. In blue, regions with only bonus goods missing. So 5 or more. In green, other so missing 5 or more. In green, other regions. So you might want to inspect the regions in red and perhaps orange to see if they can solve their trade issues. So in this case, we've got 3 that have got like missing trade goods. So we could actually sort of go and just try to sort of figure out, okay, well, what is actually missing from here, and what do we need to sort of go and bring in? Actually, this is cool. This one's actually got wild beasts, which, where are we getting that one from? That's the Rocky Outcrops. Not sure where we're getting that one from, to be honest. Yeah, I don't know where the wild beasts are where we're getting those. Tin vein. Amber. Yeah, we've got a few different things in through here. Anyway, that's like this again. It's not if we did actually have if we had issues with it being red, then yeah, we could start to look to try to sort of solve it. Let's not worry about that one so much. Legacy and World Wonders, we're not going to worry about that one. This is national and local authority. This is actually important. The further away from our capital, the less the authority has. So there's actually it drains off from the capital and then it sort of extends back out. The further away you go, it's sort of the less local authority you end up having, which means you can have potentially more problems in those provinces. So the capital is always going to have the most in this instance. The next one across is the political overlay, not really going to worry us. Then we have the religions, not going to worry us, we're in the middle. And then claims, the various claims that sort of are available. So we're controlling this one through here, but we will eventually have other claims that then do come through as well. Let's just leave it off for now. So let's now talk a little bit more in depth about, oh sorry, I need to keep that one back on there. No, turn that one off. I wanted to talk about the armies, because we've now actually got a second army. So if we go and click on this army through here, we then have, this is our first Bohemian army, and we've got the second Bohemian army. So we picked up, in this case, we happened to pick up some good quality troops. We've got some early spearmen. These are fine. These are actually not raw spearmen. These are actually good defensive spearmen. And we got a total of 4 different units coming through. For our other army, we've got a total of 4, 5, 6, 7. So we're now over the limit for that retinue. Again, if we have a look at the national panel and look at the summed abilities, retinue allowance of 10. So 10 is what we have. Let's go now that we've actually got more than the 10 units in our retinue, we now have to start paying for more of those. And we're going to find. I'll just merge these armies in first. So if I just go and merge that one with that one, we now bring all of these across. So at the moment we've got 5 different groups coming through here. Now these, you'll notice that the star that they actually had has now disappeared because we've actually transferred them in, so they lose experience when they actually transfer across, but they'll be able to pick that up again fairly quickly. We now have 125 in terms of our combat power with 11 units. if we go into, let's go actually go and attack this this particular region in through here, and we'll just go through how this one actually does work. And so we're going in with a whole lot of heavy crossbowmen, and so these are, if we go and press Control to have a look at more details with these, so these are ranged standing army units support. These are also a support unit. They can stand in behind other units to actually support them. With the actual, they've got a combat power of 12, they've got an attack of 3, defense of 3, a city assault bonus of 1, a city defender bonus of 2. So they actually defend cities better than they attack them. Hits of 3 points and effectiveness of 3 as well. So they're fairly strong in terms of their hits and effectiveness. We'll talk about that when we go into actual combat. They're level 0 at this stage. So they're in this case, this particular unit has not really progressed. Maybe some of the others might have. No, they're all zeros. Oh no, there we go. See that bottom one there? This is 16 of 10. So this one actually is better. It's still level 0, but it will actually automatically sort of kick in at some point. That's also 16, but these actually haven't, the 3 that we had originally don't have any experience. This one does. It'll just take a turn for it to get used to the new commander. And so then that 16 will then give it another star. So I'll show you, we'll actually march them across into here, into Libis, see if we can get rid of those robbers before we attack into the other location, into here, into Kaslev. So we'll move them across ultimately, like into the next move across. So they're in through there. We've then got, so that's 5 of those type of units. And then we've got another 5 units which are just sort of like different classes of spearmen. And we've got the raw early levy spearmen, and we have the just the early spearmen through here. These are not raw, so these have actually got better abilities. Again, if we press Control, we then sort of see different aspects about them. So we'll have a bit of a read through this. Like again, if there's any sort of modifier for how they work, it'll then show up in there. In this case, we can have a look to see these guys are clumsy. They have an attack penalty of 2 and a defense penalty of 2. But only in forested, swampy, and mountainous terrain. So when we move into the forests, these are going to be ineffective, largely ineffective. So they've still got like 3 hits, 3 effectiveness. They've got an attack of 7, defense of 7. So they're fairly good at just meaty attacks. They've got a city assault bonus of +1 up the top through there. Combat power overall there of 12. But we do actually have an attack penalty. So their attack of 7 goes to 5, which could be a problem. And similarly, their defence of 7 goes to 5 as well if they are in the forest, which is where we're going to ultimately send them. Charge breaker. So this is a charge breaker level 1. 3 times this level is a bonus against a charge roll. Active only in open, arid, and steppe terrain. So we should be, at the moment, we are in a plain, which is open. So we're in an open plain initially, which is where they operate very, very well. And ultimately, we plan to take them into Kaslev with 19 units now. So this has got garrisons and militia defence of 19 units. So this is actually potentially a bit of a problem because there's now a lot more units here than what we thought. We'll evaluate to see actually how this one actually does go through. So we've got those. Then we've got the, this is the sergeants. Sergeants can charge. If the unit charges, we'll raise the combat value by 1. In addition, the melee loser suffers this extra damages. This is active only out in the open again. They're well armoured, so this one here, they've got an attack of 6, defence of 4, but they do actually have this sort of charging ability. So the combat power is not as high as the spearmen, but they're sort of up there. Well armoured, yeah, we've done that one. Ungainly, so they have an attack and a defence penalty, but again in forests. So forest is going to be a problem. And so... separately deployed mounted sergeants is sort of like is what they actually are. And then finally we've just got these raw spearmen, which have only got an attack of 6, defense of 7, and again they're clumsy out in the open. So these are hastily levied, which means that we end up sort of with some other little problems with them, with their abilities, with their upkeep, etc. I think is they're not great. The siege value, siege resistance is poor. Not sure what those other little symbols about the hastily levied actually is, but anyway, they're so our troops are not fantastic with what we actually end up having through here. So if we have a look at the actual at Kaslev itself, we can sort of see what we could expect to go out, not in terms of the actual military, because they're sort of hidden away in the forest and in the city. We don't know exactly what we're going to be coming up against. We can see down through here, this one's got a stronghold. It's actually a fairly powerful little area, actually, to be honest, this location here. When we have a look over through this other side, we can sort of see this is a legacy generation combined. There's not going to be anything we need to worry about. This is the terrain location that we sort of see through here. So this Caslav, it's forested. The cost is 3, so the movement cost to get in there is 3. Terrain defense of 2, so they add 2 to their die rolls for defense, which is a problem for us. The frontage is 8, so we need to have an actual frontage of 8 units to be able to go all the way across the forested area. And so what we need is, not counting the crossbowmen, we need to have 8 units, and at the moment we've only got 6. We've got 3 in terms of and there's no flankers, so the cavalry is useless in this instance. So we're almost better off getting like a couple more units essentially to be able to then sort of go and structure this a little bit more effectively. And it's then got the surroundings around it, but that frontage is the important thing. If we have a look at this location at Prague, for example, movement cost in there is 2, but this one has a frontage of 18 because it's completely open. And of those 18, 6 are reserved essentially for flankers, for knights. So when you're actually fighting out in the open plains, you've got a much, much broader area to then sort of move into. And you'll see there also that there's actually there's different things like river crossings are going to give different bonuses. So where you come from also has a bearing on how the attack will then go forward. So if I, for example, try to attack into Pilsen, this one here has got from Passau, we're looking at the river crossing down through this other side. If we attack across the river, we end up with a +2. So that's where's Passau? Yeah, that's it there. So that river crossing there is big, and then we have a small river crossing to Nuremberg, which is there. So there's a small river that runs down through there, just to give it more, so that you do protect against those different things. We do have a river there though. If we go to Caslav, it doesn't show it there though, which is interesting. Oh, it might just be the border showing. I thought it was actually a river. There is a river there between Litimis. Yeah, we do have a bit of a river crossing up this way. Yep, so river crossing there. And is there a river crossing that way as well? I think there might be a river down that way as well. So that's sort of, this is again just where the terrain does actually have a big bearing on the way that the strategy can play out as well. So Timoshka is then saying raw, can they be cooked? No, different sort of raw. And I think that's all we're up to at this stage. So in this sense, this army is not really ready to go into here yet because of the frontage. So that frontage is very, very important. Again, to just get there, always just hover over that one, look at the frontage, look at what, you can see the garrison and militia defence of 19 units. We don't know what that's going to be. We've got, our units are not really geared for that. Is there anything we could actually go and buy that would actually go do the job? Like at this stage, if we go back to our regional decisions, recruit the local units, we're going to get more of the crossbowmen, which we don't need, and then the non-standard units. If we go and have a look at that one through there, spearmen are poor in this location, light crossbowmen, archers, light archers. So none of those are great. Let's just go back across now into recruitment. So we have here a regular Eastern Foot. Now these actually are good. If we press Control over, in fact this is a woodsman. So movement bonus of +1, attack bonus of +1, defense bonus of +1, supply usage lessened by 1, so active only in forested terrains. And so in forest, these guys actually attack and defend stronger than their normal attack. These have got an attack of 5, it'll go up to 6, defense of 4, go up to 5. So by bringing these in, and these are cheap, like it's going to cost me a bit of manpower, but I can get a couple of these units, and that will then flesh out our army quite nicely. And these are just levies, so we can get rid of these again afterwards. Range defense of 6, siege value shouldn't really matter. Actually, it may matter a little bit. Siege value of 3. I can get 2 with what we have at this point in time with our manpower. Yeah, we've got 51 plus 19. Yeah, these are actually pretty cool. And then we've also got these are the spearmen, which are heavy infantry, and then we've got the crossbowmen, which are again, these are medium infantry, but they're not really like, these are ideal for smacking our way through that through that first fight. So let's go and do that. Let's go and add these in. So if we just go and right click to add to the queue, so we can get that one next turn, next turn, next turn. I can get 3 of those. That's going to then sort of reduce our manpower right down. Let's do that. And what we should do is actually start to move these across here. I'll just move them for one more turn. Oops, hang on, just right click. So they're going to march there next turn, and so we'll end up sort of with that one in through there. By the way, when you are moving your armies, just be aware, if I do move it into here, that would be moving there in the second turn. If I move it to there, I'm assaulting the actual location, and I wouldn't be wanting to do that one. I'd be wanting to besiege it. But we do want to go across into Labis, because Labis has got this bandit lair as well. So we just start to now sort of work our way through. With those levies, we'll then move them across. They're sort of cheap, but in this case, they're going to be potentially quite useful, just to sort of to try to even up whatever's going to happen in this particular location. So we'll then, once we sort of get established, we'll then go after that one through there. That's pretty much all we need to do this turn, so we'll just end our turn here. I don't want to be bringing any more heavy troops into these forests. There's the other 15. We'll just go and bring these across now as well. So it's still processing the turn, and it's as I said before, it's a WeGo system where things will move, independently at different rates depending on what's actually happening there. And it's still processing the turn. Still in the middle rung of everything, which is fine. Ninja Pan is then saying the artwork and colour choices are an integral part of the energising games you spoke about recently. In my opinion, probably very subjective. Yeah, I think it can be. Like it's, but you do have control over the colours as well. Like you can actually tweak them if you actually wanted to change them around as well. A bit like the fonts. I'm still not sold on the fonts. I've tried it different ways. I might do a live stream and just get people to see what they think at some point, maybe before I sort of upload it. All right, so again, these little tips are always worth reading. Like these are just part of the tips that are sort of randomly part of the game. Just go and click on OK. And so again, we've got the different decisions that are now coming back through, and we've got the important decisions will be down the side through here. So this is now turn 3. Some have suggested that the spread of heresy in Labis is the work of secretive cult that has infiltrated the region. So they've got a potential problem there. Luckily, we moved the army across. Then we actually have religious agitators in Labis subverting the populace. We need to burn these heretics. Well, we have the army now is in the right place. By the way, see the number in the army is now, I think, gotten bigger. We'll have a look at the army in just a minute. We've got in Prague, a competent noble with authority has ordered the construction of a reinforced palisade, Bohemia, in an effort to fortify the region. Now that may be what we're looking for. So this is actually often what you'll find is if you have high authority and you're sort of like, and we do actually in Prague, or any other sort of aspect of the game, different random things will actually then kick in as well, where the population will start to do different things for you. And so in this case, one of the nobles in Prague has actually asked for a reinforced palisade. We'll have a look at that as well in just a minute. So we've received a new regional decision, so remove hostiles. So we can actually remove that group with this new decision if we don't want to be hovering around in here. So we've still got that one in there as well. and Bohemia is unable to draft enough men for its army. One unit reported they were missing some soldiers because we actually ended up going negative with what we ended up having to do. So that's all fine. So they're removing hostiles. This one here, this decision is assured to remove one impediment representing outlawed hostile people, bandits, savages, etc. So if we have a look again back at Labis, I'll leave it in there for now. I'll just go and have a look and see what we've actually got here. So that will then remove the bandit layer. So I will do that. Now back in through here, the Bohemian army, we've got these 3 units that have now been sort of allocated. And so I'm going to now move these across into this army. And again, I can move it into the area, or I can target the actual group. So I can actually sort of go to the force there, and just get it. Oops, just go and get it to go and sort of establish itself there. So we're targeting the Bohemian army. It does tell you what it's actually going to be doing. If I did move the Bohemian army off, it would follow it and follow it around. But we need it basically established first. Let's have a look at our army because we now have a few different things going on. Our money is still going backwards, and so the military upkeep is now going to start to cost us a fair bit with the military that we actually have. But we do want to take this location. We can then get rid of the levies afterwards if we wanted to. See how these guys have now got their stars are back because they've now had one turn with the general, and so that experience they had has now allowed them to make good use of that. So when you do actually have experienced units, just be aware it does take a turn before the experience will kick in. If I just go and click Control, you'll see there that they're now level 1 with their experience, and so that's all sort of fine in through there as well. So they're now 17 of 30 experience. So they've actually been able to level up with the commander. So we'll allow that to actually happen. So Bohemia is able to draft. Reported some missing soldiers. That's okay. So we do actually have our manpower is poor in this location. Just come back and grab all of that. So the reinforced palisade is coming next turn. Let's go and have a look at this one at Prague. So we've got this one coming up, requesting this region. I don't think we can. Yeah, we can't actually go and click on it. Let's go and see if we can actually. If we go to change to get it so we can see what's available, we need to go and open up something else and then start the process. So if I go to reinforced palisade, I can then bring it up to get the information about this particular building, and just get rid of all that stuff. So this particular building, this is a change fortification level by 1 point. Check your fortification level in the corresponding indicator in the region panel. It doesn't use up any slots, it's just an extra one. The structure is temporary and will be removed at the end of the turn. If there is a modifier, it will last 15 to 30 turns though. Reinforced palisade, yeah, so it's not really all that great. So it would be a sound addition to the fortified building in this region. With that already in place, it should not require that much work to finish. This fortification option is cheap to complete, but provides no additional bonus beyond a fortification level. So we don't get what we were actually looking for there, unfortunately. So nothing else we can really sort of go and do there. So 0 slot usage, it's just going to be an extra point through here. It will eventually be pulled down. So it's sort of temporary, but that's okay. So it doesn't cost us anything. It's just the local population are putting that one up. So we'll leave that one where that is. And again, if there was other histories around that we sort of need to try to have a bit of a look at, what have we got through there? Prospected for resources in DasTactic, but found nothing significant, although potential still exists. Better luck next time. So that one didn't work. This one through here, rich citizens of Prague donated 50 money to the state. That's nice of them. Your nation is unable to compensate for recent losses of soldiers, and your new units were made up of unwilling men who might desert as soon as possible. You have received a new regional decision to remove hostiles. In Prague, a competent noble with authority has ordered the construction of a reinforced palisade. Yeah, we've done that one as well. And then we've got the book burners in through this other side with the heresy. So if we have a look at the its location, you can see down there it's named. Yeah, that's okay. Religious trouble. This region is affected by religious troubles, with sighting of miscreants or even heretics. So we have a regional loyalty penalty now of 15, a piety penalty of 25, stewardship penalty of 20%, and it'll last for 5 turns. So we've got heresies back in through this other location now. Nothing much we can do other than just sort of station this particular group in through here and just sort of see how things actually develop over time. So let's now just go forward. Now, unfortunately, our manpower generation is low, which means that our troops, in fact, if we have a look at our troops and sort of see, if we hover over manpower, the regional manpower is 14, military upkeep is -14. Previous turn total was 51. Our equipment production of 25 allows us to maintain a fair few musters of men. So yeah, that should start to correct itself, hopefully, over time, but some of the units may desert. It'll be the lowest level units that end up sort of going. Now, we've got the 10 that we are paying for, so like that we're paying through the levy. If we press Control and have a bit of a look, we can see through here, down there in the very bottom line, and I think I'm covering some of it there, but essentially we've got, this is for these heavy crossbowmen. The upkeep is there part of the retinue, part of the 10 that are the retinue. The money cost is 4, when normally it would be 24. The metals is 0, when it would normally be 1. The manpower is 0, when normally it would be 5. So that's actually, that upkeep for anything that's a retinue is going to be, like, and that one there is not. This one here, sorry, I'll just go back to that one through there. This one, the upkeep is 60 from a base of 24. The metal is a 0. Actually, that's still not too bad. Oh, these are mercenary. This is a mercenary support unit. Hang on, we've actually paid for mercenaries with those two. So we're paying through the nose with these. These guys here are actually mercenary. Not ideal. Yeah, so normally if they were just part of what we... So these are not part of our retinue. Then as we come back through the other ones through here, these are part of our retinue, where we're paying 6 money for these, 1 metal and 3 manpower. So it's costing us a lot less to actually have those as retinues. This one would be retinue as well. So yeah, I didn't realise that they were actually mercenary. You can see there the money next to it. So these are actually, I think I'll keep it for just a little bit longer. Like, we're actually able to support this, but we do now have these 2 lots of mercenaries. Yeah, let's just keep it until we actually take this location. So nothing much else we can do there. We'll just go and close that one off. End our turn. So mercenaries can't be retinues. So it's now processing the turn again. All of the countries are moving. All of their units are going to be moving around. Here comes the others. They're going to then join up with our army. It's not dramatically strong. And we do actually have a couple of notes in the top left there as well, which I'll have a look at. That sort of gives you a bit of a summary as to what's going on in your empire. So we're slowly getting a bit of authority coming back through. Then the AI is now just running through its turns. So Mammoth is saying, are you winning yet? No, not yet. All right, so that's now done. Here we go, new decision is available. So lending a hand. One of your vassals would like to help in completing a structure, or would like some help in completing a structure. So we'll have a look at that, what that one actually is. This is actually this is not just a regional decision, this is an actual decision for it that we have to then go and make. So we're going to focus on the event. And so that then comes into here. So vassal lending a hand. So so Gostomil, the ruler of Moravia, would like to build a protected settlement in his realm. Your personal counsellor indicates Moravia has been supportive of your actions, but the final decision is your own. Expiring this turn, this condition can be activated. So in this case, back into here, when we go and click on it, so help the vassal in full, so loyalty rewarded. Tell the Royal Exchequer to send 250 money. Now that's all of our money, and 25 metal. That's nearly all of our metal. The structure will be rapidly completed, and your vassal will no doubt be even more loyal. That's a bit too much. Send money to speed up the construction, 150, or refuse. I will actually give him that money. So unfortunately, that's it's going to impact the loyalty. It's one thing we haven't played about with his diplomacy. Here we go. Messages have arrived from Lawsitz seeking a cooperative treaty from us, paving the way for more in the future. Now I can actually close this one and then address it later, but let's just have a bit of a look and see. So Lawsitz, wanting cooperation. So I'm going to agree to that. in this instance. Why not? So we can always go back and change that if I'm wanting to sort of go back and do whatever else we need to do. But we'll just go and, oops, if I select it again, I've got to make sure it is agree. It's actually in through there, that's fine. So that's now, you can see there is seeking the treaty. So again, we can just sort of see the information that's around us. Reinforced Palisade has been completed in Prague. You've received a new regional decision, gift to a peer. So several signs tell us that the next few months will be particularly harsh for men and crops. At the moment it's still fair. Once every 4 seasons it will then become, or 4 turns, it will then become a harsh season, which will then sort of means that things will start to sort of dwindle away a little bit. And we also have a gift to a peer. What does that one do? So in the grand show of generosity, we will gift to a peer of the realm, a governor, jewellery, precious tapestries, and costly works of art. The poorer the peer, the bigger the effect of loyalty. I'm not going to worry about that one. It's going to cost me a bit. I can, if I'm starting to run out of money, I can sell these things off. Like if I hover over that one through there, so you can control right click to sell one decision. We get 51 gold if we do sell that one off, which I won't. I'll just leave it there for now, and just have that one sort of do what it's doing. Back up through here is what I mentioned before. One, the region suffers from heresy, and we also have lawsuits for present corporation. Yep, so current status agree, that's all fine. These are just little sort of statuses that will appear. If you've got disloyal court, that will also then show up in there as well. And we have unable to draft enough men. Yep, so we're going to have some issues essentially with building different things. Lending a hand, yeah, that's all good. That's everything in there is actually fairly fine. So after long and arduous tracking efforts, armed men in Lebis neutralise the nuisance caused by the bandit lair. So if we have a look at Lebis, the bandit lair is now gone, so we no longer have that issue. So we've been able to sort of deal with that one. Okay, well let's now go and attack Kaslav in through this other side. Now they've actually got extremely dense forest, which will actually give them potentials for, I think that gives them like wild animals essentially. But let's go and start the actual assault now on that particular location. So as the guys have now come through, we've now got these 3 that will actually sort of just help on the periphery of what we're doing. We actually now have not got enough men for these early defensive spearmen. We've actually lost effectiveness and hit points on that particular unit, unfortunately, and we've actually lost some on this one as well. Now, I can wait for my manpower to become more effective, but ultimately I need to try to get this thing done. So let's go in and finish this session off with a fairly extended look at the combat. So there's not really a lot we can do. Just trying to think if there's anything else we can. I know that there's actually been an update here. Previous group, yeah, sleep. There has been some work done on how to actually set these up now, but I don't know exactly where that shows. I haven't played with that bit of it yet. So let's go in and we'll do a couple of things. We'll have a look at medieval as well, like the game medieval, and sort of play out some of the combat, the same combat there, but we'll also play it out in here as well. So we're going to move across. We're going to actually attack this city. We're not going to go straight for the actual city itself. We're going to besiege it, which means we should be able to do reasonably well in the forest, I think, because there will be some forces that will sort of remain inside that location. Nothing else we really need to do. It is the manpower problem is the one that we actually have, is a bit of a tricky one. Let's just end our turn. Hope I've explained why this is actually a dangerous attack for us, going into this forest like this. And I'll show you the combat system in game and the combat system sort of like out of the game as well. So I can export the battle, or I can view the battle in through here. I'm going to export it initially, and then we'll come back and first of all have a look at the actual view battle itself. If you've got Field of Glory 2 Medieval, you can export any of the battles out. So overwrite the exported battle. So it's then going to be wanting to go across. It will then open up Field of Glory 2 Medieval, which is this game here. And then we'll play out that particular game. Now, what it also does, which it doesn't tell you this, but it actually also takes a save, like an auto save, and places that back in the original game. And so this is where we can, and I'll come back and finish off this session, I think, with playing this combat out in Field of Glory 2 Medieval, which ultimately will be easier for me to fight this particular battle here than to fight it in the game. I'll just, so we start off with our actual army. This is the army that we've actually got. So it's sort of, it'll add extra different bits and pieces based on numbers, and it does a good job of trying to do things. In this case, we've got a heavily forested area. I don't really have very many troops that can actually sort of work well in the forest. We'll come back to this one afterwards. So let's just go back out. We'll just go and quit this game. I'll just open back up Field of Glory Kingdoms. Because what it does, as I said before, what it does do is it does actually save a version of the game right when these battles kick in, that you can then go back into. So I can import the most recent one of those if I'm wanting to, which I don't want to. It's from a month ago. But if I go into load, you'll then sort of find that at the bottom we've got pre-battle, turn 4, Bohemia in the expanded campaign. So this is actually the one that we actually want to go and do. So we'll just go and load this one actually in. So I'll get myself a drink of water, be right back. So typically if you're playing the game, you can play a lot faster than what I've been playing today. I've just been trying to sort of, I guess, go through and explain a lot of the mechanics to a large degree without going too deep. Now what's interesting here is they've actually split their forces. So we can see there that they've got 43 out through here. It looks like they've got medium sort of swordsmen that are actually at that location. We'll have a look at this when we get there. So they've actually got 10 units. We've got 14 units. So we've got an advantage here. We have 128 combat power. We've lost a little bit of combat power moving across the territory. And they've got 43 with 45 inside the castle. And so so we'll end up just going and viewing review the battle. And so it's an auto battle system, the way it sort of does work. So if we go and view this particular combat. So the way it works is, now we saw there before a frontage of 8. So there's the 8 frontage. Where we've got different units, for example, that don't really apply to the the sergeants. There's no flanking manoeuvre for the sergeants, so they don't get to participate. If we didn't have 8 units for the front, they would be on one of the outer edges, is where they would sort of end up being. For our location, all of the heavy crossbowmen are sitting in behind here. So they're actually sort of like all 5 of those are now in behind, which are giving support to the units in front. And this one is also giving support to the unit in front there. They've got 2 units, so they've actually got 10 units in total that they've actually brought across. A couple of archers back in through this other side, which are again, because they've got some crossbowmen back out this way, which will actually, these are still sort of medium. These can actually fight fairly effectively, as ours could if they had to, but they're not ideal. And so what they've done is they've got a whole lot of peasant militias have sort of come back through. They've got some light javelin men as well, which are also skirmishers. So they don't really have frontline troops, but they have put they've got mercenary crossbowmen like what we've got on the outside edges, along with just light archers as well. So the first phase of this, if we just go and start the battle, the first phase is a ranged phase. And so what actually happened through there was their units that could actually go and do anything, like, and pretty much it was like they targeted this one got hit, this one got hit, these ones they missed, and through this other side. So they've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, so the javelin men have also then gone and had a shot at them. These raw early spearmen have actually taken a lot of damage with what they're actually sort of doing. So at this phase, what we're trying to do is exhaust the units like this, so get rid of their effectiveness, and so you don't sort of typically get rid of hit points as such. I mean, they've only got like 1 hit point all the way through there. These have got 3 and 3. These were missed entirely. This one here has got 3 hit points, but only 1 effectiveness now. That one's got 2 hit points with only 1 effectiveness. So we've lost a bit of effectiveness back and through there. So these are actually, like we do have an advantage here. So that was the first one. Now this starts to kick in here, where we've got the forest region, terrain defense of 2, which will actually help the defender, and we're talking now about the next phase, which is the play phase. So the way this one works is we've got a commander here with an attack of 2, which means he gets 2 extra die rolls. They don't have any commander at all, and so they only get 1 die roll. We have to go and we have to roll higher in the total of the actual combat rating plus a random like 10-sided die, and so we only get to choose 1 die from our group, but it's whatever the highest number is. They only have 1 die rolled in through here. We have a slight advantage, and so in this case we've got light javelinmen, which is a skirmish type units, going up against our irregular eastern foot. I'll just explain a little bit about what we're seeing on the screen. So what we see through here is these have only got 1 hit point, and they've got an effectiveness there of 3. Now when the hit point is eroded, they're dead. So that is literally what happens. Typically when you've got like different effectiveness and hit points, you will take away 1 from each row, unless there's only like 1 hit point, and then it'll just be all the effectiveness. So if we beat this one by 3, it will essentially have all of its effectiveness gone, but it will still actually have 1 hit point. If it does say 2 damage to us, we'll be down to 1 hit point as well. So it's whatever the difference actually is in through here. So what they've got is they've got a base combat rating of 3. I think if I go across in through this other side, you can see they're dual using defense rating. So combat rating of 3 is their base rating. Our base rating here is 5 in through that side. You can see it through here as well. Plus 3 support bonus, because these guys here are giving support. So they actually have a support bonus going into them. So that 3 becomes 6. That 6 becomes 8 because they're defending in a forest. And so they end up with an 8 total ranking. For us, we're using the irregular eastern foot, which are actually our most effective soldiers in the forest, because they've got the 5 basic rating, plus 1 by being in the forest, and then 3 because we've got the support in behind here of the heavy crossbowmen. So we certainly have an advantage here with what we can sort of see. So let's just go and click and just go across and play the next one. Now we did by 4, which kills them off. So we got rid of all 4 of theirs, so to actually sort of destroy those. Now there's also, this is when they've got the die roll. So it's they've got a 3 minimum roll because they're strong. So they've actually got like if they roll less than a 3, they'll re-roll until they get a 3. For us, we have a 1 minimum roll, which means basically whatever we get is whatever we get. So they rolled a 4, add that together, you get 12. We rolled a 9. We also rolled a 7, 6, and a 5. We take the 7 because it's the highest die roll. That then gets applied, and we end up with 4 more, which means that the 4 points that were in through here get taken off, which essentially has killed those ones off. So that's 1 to us. We also have so the ranking here of the attack is just the extra die rolls that we end up sort of having. So that was 1 attack to us. We then go to the next play. In this case, these are just peasant militia. These are terrible. And so all they have is their 2 combat rating. They've got nothing behind it as support. We actually still have the 3 support. This is why having the frontage plus support can have a big bearing on the actual combat ratings that you see through here. And so they've only got like 2 points in total. We're already heaps of points ahead of them. We rolled a 10 there, so they're destroyed. And we'll just roll our way through this now. This one here, again, we've got a 4 against 8. We are clumsy. These guys don't fight well in the forest, so we have the 7 combat rating, -2 because they're clumsy, but +3 because we've got the heavy crossbowmen at the back. This will be interesting to see what actually happens in here as an example. Massive damage there, they've been destroyed. So the next one that we have is actually, they've got a slight advantage. They've got a combat rating of 3, so even though they're a support type unit, in this case they're actually fighting as medium infantry with +2 defense, going up against our 6. No support in behind it, unfortunately, but -2 clumsy, so we're down to 4. But we do have the extra roll, so we still may be okay here. Yeah, 14 each. Now we both take damage. You can see there it's actually one of the worst results you can get, where you end up taking damage from both, like more than just one. You're better off losing by one than getting a dead heat. It just means that you're fighting much stronger in the actual combat itself. And so these guys ended up with a stalemate, but they did actually lose both readiness and hit points back and through here. So we were lucky that we rolled the 10, they rolled the 9. So yeah, it was very much, very sort of even. We now go to the other half. But at the moment we're doing very, very well overall with the combat. So these are, again, big numbers for us. And they've been destroyed. Next one, big numbers for us. Now they're exhausted, so they actually take even more damage, but they've been destroyed as well. These are 5 versus 3, so this is actually, for us, we've actually got a 6 combat rating, -2 because we're clumsy, -2 because we were exhausted by the ranged attack, but we do get the +1 support, but not because of these crossbowmen, only 1 because of the sergeant, so they're just helping a little bit. So this is going to be a bit more tricky for us. I've only got hit points left, and we just managed to do it. So they evaded because of because they're skirmisher type units. So these actually were good skirmishers, and so even though we won by 1, they still managed to evade this one. Then we've got the last one, which is even again through here. We win by 1 again. They're not skirmishers, so they do take the one effectiveness in through this other side. Now, if we've done enough damage, which we have, we will then actually have the initiative to push and destroy whatever we possibly can and chase them down. So we now actually go through into this phase and through here with the pursuit. And we've sort of destroyed a few more of the others on the way through. And so that's the end of it. We've won the battle. View the report. This then just gives us a bit of a summary of what actually happened. So the auto battle system is actually very, very effective, like when you start to sort of see how the different types of troops actually kick in, and so it works fairly well. And so in that case we'll just go and minimize that one. It's still processing the turn, but what I'll do now is I'll go and play out that combat in Medieval, just so you can sort of see if you do actually have Field of Glory 2 Medieval, you can then go and play the combat out in a tabletop environment. Rather than the auto battler, so you've then got the choice of whichever way you want to play it. But this is one of the questions that often gets asked. So we're getting close now to that top tier, which is good. But if you are playing the game, there is often questions about whether you can, whether you need to have Medieval to play the game. You don't. It's a standalone game that we've been playing with Kingdoms. But if you do like the tabletop tactical system, you can then go and play it out that way. So just go and get rid of all these things. So this is now a harsh season, and we're now starting to see snow around the place. I'll just go and close that one down for a second. So what we can go and do again is we're now sort of looking at the harsh season back down this other side. We've lost a little bit of points there with our units, with everything that's sort of going on. If I wanted to play that last combat out in terms of actually loading it in, I can then go again into the pre-battle turn 4 again and load that one in. Now you can only have one active battle at a time in the game, like in Medieval if you're sort of playing Kingdoms. So don't sort of half start one and then come back and think that you're going to be able to then play it. You do need to. You can still save it and come back to it, but just don't start another one, otherwise it will replace that particular battle. So I'm going to go and export the battle again. Just going to go yes, okay. And so the same, and one of the reasons I really like playing Medieval, to actually play these out in Medieval, is you get a really good feel for what your units are good at when you play the Field of Glory 2 Medieval. It sort of really helps a lot, I think, anyway. So this is Field of Glory is a tabletop system. Like it wasn't a computer game originally. It is a tabletop system. Field of Glory 2 is sort of like the most recent of the tabletop computerized versions of it. Same developer that came up with the actual tabletop as well is the one who puts these together. And so with the overall look, one of the other comments that people actually complain about with both games, Kingdoms and with Field of Glory 2, Medieval or any of them, is the look of the units. Now the thing is, it is a tabletop. It started off as a tabletop. And so they embrace and hug hard that actually look to it. So if I start to scroll in a little bit, if I go, you can see as I sort of start to look at the terrain, we're looking at paint strokes. We're looking at stuff that looks like it's been set up on a piece of masonite. You know, like it's actually looks like a tabletop system. It's exactly what we've got. And so, and if I go Shift 3, I can then zoom in at a bit more of bit more closely. And then if I have a look at the actual units that we've got, so the units themselves look like the tabletop units, look like they're sort of hand-painted tabletop units. That's not a mistake, that's by design. This is actually because that's what these units look like in the actual tabletop system. And so it really has embraced that. And so that often a lot of the looks that we see in both games are from that aspect. So I thought I'd just point that out because that is actually that's fairly different. Now in the tabletop, we do actually have like a different way of playing the game, and what they've had to do with Kingdoms and with Empires before that was to try to find a way that will give you similar results of what you'd expect from the tabletop system if you were playing it in an auto battler. So they have they've tried to balance this out a lot, the two different companies that sort of have built these games. I mean, Slytherin is this publisher of both, but there are different companies that sort of work in both instances. I'll just move back out again. So let's just go through Field of Glory 2 Medieval, I guess, and just sort of talk a little bit about how this then works. If you can get both, actually I should have pointed out that at the moment the Field of Glory Kingdoms is 15% off the base game. You can get a bundle as well, which I think is about 10% off with the new DLC. I'm not sure if Medieval is cheap at this point in time, but certainly it's this is an awesome tactical system. It's not it doesn't do campaigns, so having a game like Kingdoms to actually play the campaign and then fight the battles out in Medieval is the best of both worlds to a large degree. And again, people sort of one of the common complaints is why isn't it just all part of Kingdoms? It's really hang on, there we go. So Raygun Rob is saying Medieval is currently 40% off on GOG. I'm not sure how it works going. It should still work going as long as you got the game. I'm assuming it just works going from into GOG. If you've got Kingdoms, you can just go and play the battles. But you saw there it was pretty seamless to get into this particular screen. So what we need to do is we now need to plan out our attack. Now we're going to be having most of the attacks will be happening in this first region. This is all open ground out through this other side, and so this is where it's all going to be played out. They do actually have a very, very high hill, 200 hill there, and then there's lots and lots of woods in through this other side with some rough ground. That's where the combat's going to take place. What we need to do is we need to use units we need to position the units to fight well out in the open terrain, to be in the open terrain, and we need units that can actually operate in the forest to then work in the forest. So let's have a look at our different units. We've got the early spearmen, and so what these are undrilled heavy foot. When you see anything with heavy foot on it, you're going to end up essentially where it's going to have a problem going into into any sort of rough ground. So these units here, these spearmen, are all anything with heavy foot. Essentially, is going to have issues in the rough. The heavy crossbowmen are just bowmen with what we actually have in through this other side. Now, if I press, is it I forget what the actual is. It control click. These have got. There's a negative cohesion test versus in the open versus heavy foot or mounted. So these don't fight well against heavy foot. So these are not something you want to be putting in the front line against spearmen. So or against anything else really or mounted. So they've got they're protected. what else have we got? There's nothing much else there we have to worry about. I won't go through too much detail here, but they're essentially medium guys. And to test this one out, what we can do is actually just go and place them in these locations. And when we go and click them there, these guys here are still steady. They actually work okay in the open terrain. If I go and grab one of these spearmen and move them across, we'll see that they're now moderately disordered, which means they're fighting less effectively. If I go and place them in the forest, they're now severely disordered. They hate the forest, these spearmen. The spearmen prefer to just be steady out through here. But the heavy crossbowmen can work very, very well in rough ground, and even through here they become moderately disordered in the actual in the woods. So they can fight in the woods, and that's important for us to know. If we have a look at these guys in through here, these are regular eastern foot. If they move into the rough, they're steady. If they move into the forest, they're moderately disordered as well. These are medium foot, again, like the crossbowmen, and so we can use these in this location. We actually don't have any skirmishers in our army. Skirmishers can work very, very well in the forest. So they're a sort of type of unit that we are going to be needing to sort of keep out away from the side. Crossbowmen, 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 crossbowmen. We then actually have a sub-general through here with sergeants. They're going to, again, also be moderately disordered in the rough and severely disordered in the forest. So we want them to be fighting out in the open. I'll just move them across here somewhere. This is actually our commander-in-chief, Radislav. So the same guy that was actually in Kingdoms is going to also just be over here. I'll just keep them together. They're not going to have a big bearing here because we're not out in the open plains. We really are. We're very compressed, so they're not going to be able to break through easily. So what we're going to need to do is we're going to need to balance what we have in the middle. Now we've got the early spearmen through there. Do we have roars? There's crossbowmen, crossbowmen. Now that's heavy crossbowmen there with the general. So that's actually a good one for us to just. So I'll just keep that one across to the side. These are raw spearmen. These are going to be fairly poor. So I'm just going to go and move them sort of towards the middle. They're raw spearmen as well, raw as well, and then we do actually have the defensive spearmen. So let's just move. That's going to be our front. That's going to be essentially our middle of the map. I'm going to keep the irregular eastern foot well off to the side, I think, and I'll come back for those. So going through the middle here, we just want to keep the standard spearmen as a line, and then we'll keep these just in behind. I'll keep the cavalry just in behind those. They can sort of work together. They've got another general back in there as well. General back in through that side. I'll keep the crossbowmen through the middle here as well. Heavy crossbowmen, just move that one across. That'll do us. And so we can expect that there may be sort of skirmishes that will be operating in the woods, and we won't know those until we actually get there. But in terms of our armies, that'll do. So we'll just end our turn there. Are you sure? Yes. I'll play this one out fairly fast. There will be areas in behind that we can't see different units. So what we're looking at through here is they do actually have some of their light archers, the javelinmen up front. They've got their mercenary crossbowmen out in front there. And then the peasant militia at the back. If I can get to their peasant militia, they're basically dead. So I'm just going to move everything up. So I'm just going to go and grab the whole units and just go and move the whole lot. So the whole company will then move up. I forgot to move that one up to the front line as with the others. So I'll just keep these sort of just hugging the edge. So cavalry, if the cavalry can get in behind some of these units, they're going to be able to, have a bit of a field day. If they can get on top of that hill, that's going to be important for them as well. Just move those across. This game is mainly fought around points of advantage. We've now just seen another archer at the top there. They still haven't moved. That's going to allow me to get onto that hill now. And Just not seeing much else. Now, there may still be units in the... This is why I want to keep some units out in the side here, just in case they've got flankers out that way. Let's end our turn. Alright. Still haven't done anything. Now we're too close to be able to do anything, so we'll start to just move up. Now I do get shots here, so I'll start to actually hit these. Nothing there. Should be disordering them a little bit. Now, when you've got crossbowmen like this, they also have swords, so they can sort of make use of those. Just keep these coming through. Start to extend this one across. Just keep these in behind. You do want to allow units to be able to retreat back, but in this case we don't really have any real threat. It's going to be mainly these guys that will be the problem for us. Yeah, my cavalry actually would be very good in here. I think we might open the gate for them. Coming through. So I can actually hit these using these as medium troops, but I'm going to just keep everything sort of moving up, I think. I can hit them at the back. Yeah, they're standing quite well. Now, we sort of, the impact phase we lose, but afterwards we're okay. They're just going to charge off, that's fine. These across. Just get these ready. Just going to rotate them so we can sort of charge on down the line. Move them up. Again, they're going to be mainly in the woods initially. This hill's going to be sort of where we do a bit of fighting, but we certainly have a big advantage here. They're retreating out of the way. So we're probably going to get disordered here, just with all the stuff that's going on. Now if we try to attack up the hill, this is not going to be good for us, so this is in a very, very good position. So I'm going to keep on moving around to try to get in behind it. So we need to sort of hit this one pretty hard. Great. Okay, we've got that one disrupted now, so that's going to now fight less effectively. And I'm going to attack this one and charge at it because it's only lightly sort of done. We're going to be able to push that one away, and we should be able to then get into on this slot over through here. We want to get into position. Oh, we didn't quite do it. Just charge into that one. Yeah. So we're now sort of in a position where we're going to be able to sandwich this particular unit. Is that their commander-in-chief? Yeah, that's their commander-in-chief there. That's good. These are very unmanoeuvrable. These big spearmen. Now I can smash into these as well, which I'm going to do. Yep, and they've been disrupted. That's good. And now we've got an actual combat happening there, which is great. What I need to do is start to get in behind these other units. They're going to be terrible at attacking me. So I just want to rotate this one around just so we can start to get in behind them. Then we move these up to put pressure on them. I'm going to start to move these across. The peasants will drop out of the fight very, very quickly. Can't rotate that around. Yeah, these are very unmanoeuvrable. So we should be able to get all of these starting to run now fairly easily. So we're hidden in there. There was still more of they still had some other lighter troops. We certainly have a big advantage with this one. So because they're disordered, they're going to have less that they can do. We're certainly putting pressure on them. They're trying to disorder my units. It's indecisive. So even though these are crossbowmen, I can use these as medium foot to come charging in. They held on. Just get ready with that one. Keep on going back with them. Let's get ready to smash these. So you generally can do a little bit better in this game than you can in the auto battler. We have to play this one out. We've got nothing else we can bring in. There we go. They're broken. Now what it may happen is they then have to roll other dice to see if they can. If the others then lose morale. And this one may very well not break, but it may sort of fragment a little bit. Now they held firm in both instances. Now if I go and attack this one here, we sort of can suffer a bit of damage here at the start. We'll just go and do it. We don't do well in that first one. So that was fine with what ended up happening there. Now you have this one coming back through. And next turn we're going to be able... No, actually, no, we won't be able to do it next turn. The heavy crossbowmen, I can bring them down. Actually, no, even those, they can't do it. This is a flank charge, but the cohesion won't drop on contact as it's not already in combat. So I'm going to do it anyway. So we hit them in the flank, but they didn't actually drop a cohesion, but they did take a lot of damage. Now if we hit this one here, this one, because we're now hitting them from the other flank, they will actually now drop to fragment it and possibly run away. Nope, they're still staying in there. And then we've just got these others can now just come in and join in the fight, even though they've got an advantage on the hill. But being fragmented is going to absolutely smash them, so they really can't do sort of a real lot here. So they're going to definitely run at the first opportunity. There we go, they've broken. So they're now routing away. That's 20% of their forces have now been routed. Just keep on chasing these through now. I'll just actually I'll just move that one at 1, that'll do. So it's now just a matter of rolling up the rest of their forces. So we certainly had a big advantage here. Now they're going to struggle once we actually hit them in the flank with the cavalry. So I've got 2 ways to flank them. I can either attack them here, where they will actually drop. If these were light troops, this wouldn't happen, but because these are medium foot, we can actually get them to drop immediately. So I'll just go and do that. They're disrupted and probably run. Yeah, they're running now. I can now use these to actually do the charge against this unit, and this one will be a flank attack. Disrupted and big damage, but they did actually hold on. But they are now disrupted, which means that my spearmen are now just in normal melee fighting, and they've got a big advantage here because they're heavy. These are heavy infantry against medium infantry. It's really only the impact phase. Even this impact phase, we have a good chance because they're already struggling. And I might as well start to push these back. We're just going to run. Oh, there we go. We've just found ourselves some more. Knew there was more. Knew there was more involved. We're going to evade off. We did actually catch them up against the tree line, and they've broken. And that's almost enough to win the game. They're just evading. They're not in any trouble just yet. These are unmanoeuvrable just because they're more heavily armoured than most others. All right, then we've just got these. Get a rate of numbers coming through. I should have tried to get a flanking shot there. Anyway, we'll get these will run next turn anyway. So back out of the tree line now. That'll do us for now. Just end our turn. Oh, their force has rallied, which means that we're going to have to now go and destroy them. Oh no, there we go. Enemy reinforcements have now arrived. So they've got a few more that have now come into the fight. So just some light javelin men. Yeah, there was. I knew there was more here than what we saw. We should smash this. There's big numbers in there, so that once these start to drop, they're going to run, and that should be the end of it. Should run, yeah, there we go. It's 36 now. So they're severely fragmented. There's not a lot we have to do in here. Just leave those alone. Rome. Yep, there they go. That should be enough. That should be the battle over. They're evading, they're charging, disrupted, smashing, broken again. This is where that roll-on sort of effect sort of happens. They've disrupted as well. I have to get to 60%. Just end the turn. That should be it. That should be the combat. But we certainly had a stronger force. Again, that shouldn't be good for them. There we go. Lost heart, you're victorious. So to bring the combat back in, it's really quite simple. It knows that we've actually gone off to fight one of these battles. And so the two games now handshake much better than they ever have in the past. So do you want to close Medieval and launch Kingdoms? Yes, we do. So we can then just sort of, instead of using the auto battler now, it's now going to load in Kingdoms. And we then just load in. So loading the most, the recent scenario, the recent result. And what this will then do is it'll pick up where the game actually was halfway through its turn, and sort of then apply the results of that battle into what we've been doing. So Raygon Rob is saying, can the range units fire through friendly units in front of them? Not really. If they're on a slope, if they're on sort of on the back of a slope, they can fire over the top, but not directly from behind. So you've got to have height to be able to allow them to do that one. This is if you're playing Medieval. So again, we've sort of got like that was the results essentially of the battle, which is fine. We just close that one down. So it's now it's brought those back in, and it's now still processing the rest of the turn, and we'll then sort of go back through. So Michael Murray saying it's not the fault of Pocus, but too many people go into this game expecting some Crusader Kings experience and are smacked upside the head with a strategy game and then complain. I know what you mean. And you're dead right. The game is what it is, and it's not. And that's why I made a point. The aspects that are sort of Crusader Kings are literally that little aspect about the... actually, one thing I haven't shown is I might just finish off with showing the ledger, just so you can sort of see that. Because Crusader Kings has got a good ledger system. Crusader Kings is a great game. So don't get me wrong, I actually enjoy Crusader Kings. But messengers have arrived. So Bohemia and Loritz have shared information, easing their trade, incorporating with other aspects. That's good. So... so anyway, so this is back through there. Again, this is actually the diplomacy system, which, again, Crusader Kings has got a similar sort of fairly rudimentary diplomacy system. The difference between Crusader Kings and, like we've covered this before, actually we'll go through it and just go through the bits and pieces with what we can then go and do. We haven't really looked at diplomacy much in the game, and that's where Crusader Kings sort of has got a bit more of a focus. Again, we've got the different things. We'll just quickly go through. You've received a new regional decision, so liberate region. So this is actually one where we can go and what's this one? Target region is abandoned. If if it had been the previous seat of power of a now defeated nation, the people might recreate it. If not, a small independent kingdom will appear, which we don't want to do that with our own kingdom, so that's not something we do want to have. So I'll just go and leave that one where that is. We've got Bohemia is unable to draft men for its army, so the upkeep that we have in manpower, we're not quite being able to meet that need. We have to go and get rid of some of the troops in our armies. A battle has been fought, and that's the result. And this was the result of the medieval battle. Yeah. So with the comment there that Michael made about the game is a strategy game. It's this map here. It's these units. It's the buildings. Like the actual, it's the complexity of actually managing the trade goods, the buildings, the developing your empire through getting the right sorts of buildings. And now that we've got this new building to be able to then go in and sort of and really start to see where things go and what that means, it means that we've now got this. I am so blown away by this. It's sort of one of these things. I've had a version of the game for the last 2 or 3 weeks, but it didn't have this in it, and I really didn't want to do this live stream until we had this building viewer, because this is so cool to be able to then to know that we have to get to this rudimentary fort at some point. To be able to then go and pick up the early knights and sergeants is really it simplifies things so much by actually having access to this tool, which is great. So that's in the new update. That's not part of the DLC. That's a part of the free update. So we've got the information there. Battle was fought. We've got the sharing information. The regional decision. Your decision to help Moravia build an important structure has been well received. So we've sort of lost a lot of our money. Our money is going backwards. Eventually we'd have to now start to tweak what's going on. We do actually have a group in through here. So we've actually got some medium militia. These are going to be medium foot. They've got some light archers and also some light javelinmen, some skirmish type units back in through there as well. But I have really run out of time here, guys. Okay, so Delbert's saying, I know Paradox fans who hate this game just because it's turn-based. Yeah, look, it's like, again, I'll show you the one aspect that is sort of, I guess, where Crusader Kings focuses is in this panel here. And this is not, it's still got a bit of importance in the sense that you're sort of managing a court, but not to the same extent of Crusader Kings. And so I think if you were judging this game, I'll just close the other screen there, and we'll also talk a little bit about diplomacy. Whenever I stop doing one of these recordings, I always think, oh, I should have shown this or I should have shown that. But in this case, when we go into our nation, and then we actually have the king as such in through here, this screen here is functional. That's it. It's not pretty. It's not immersive even. It's not role play worthy. It's just functional about what's going on, and so that's pretty much all it actually is. Now what have we got there? This is a sister. She's 23 years old. Her loyalty is fairly high. So what we can do is, when we come into doing diplomacy, for example, having a daughter or I don't know if we can do sisters, but if we have, I think it's any relative that's female and over the age of, I think, 14 or something in the game, allows them to actually then go into like a royal marriage, which you can then end up with getting fairly intricate role play type things happening in that sense, where you end up with potential claims on other territories. So don't be fooled by the diplomacy system. It's not weak. It's as most things in this game have been sort of simplified to a degree, it has been simplified. So if we go across and have a look at diplomacy, we can then go into like any of the other factions. Some of them won't want to talk to us, some of them will, but if we go across, for example, to our vassal and start to talk with them, we have different things we can then go and do with them through the diplomacy system. I won't spend too much time with this, but it does allow us to sort of see what they are. They're just a march. They're lower level. They've got one aging token, which means that they're actually sort of being fragmented. This is their leader, who is our vassal. So he is, we're their liege. We can break the vassalage off, so as the liege are allowed to allow the vassal to regain its independence, which of course we're not going to do, being as part of the Holy Roman Empire. We can go to war with it and through here as well, but again, there's going to be different costs. One of the great things about this game is the tooltips. They do explain pretty much everything as to what's going to happen. We're going to lose a lot of authority by declaring war, which we wouldn't be wanting to do. Offer a gift, so we can actually give some money to them. Insult the emissary. This is often a precursor. If you're wanting to go to war with somebody, you will actually start to create sort of like a negative environment around the actual faction. You've also then got specific transactions where you can sort of try to absorb them. So Bohemia will disappear entirely as it will be absorbed. So that's if they're allowing them to absorb us, which of course we're not going to do. Giving metal as well. Moravia is asking Bohemia to provide metal, so we can sort of give like different amounts, etc. So there's different sorts of things you can do through here. Again, it's rudimentary. It's got like a what chance of is going to happen. So you can sort of start to play with the actual diplomacy, but not in a there's not a real lot of guesswork, but there are sometimes there will be different odds with what's going on through there as well. If I go into this location, you can see there we've got different sorts of, in fact we don't actually have royal marriage. We've got break cooperation, war alliance, so you're requesting that the other nation, so this is going to have, the final alliance chance is only 34%, so not great. So that would be if we sort of go into a full alliance with them. Declare war on, passage rights, offer a gift, insult the emissary or transaction again, and again the transaction is going to have similar sorts of things we saw there before. So it's functional with what it actually does do. But the focus, as Michael had said, the focus is really on this strategy layer on the actual map itself, and also on the buildings that you then are creating. So it's pretty cool the way it sort of does work in that sort of sense as well, just with building things up. Now that one, do we have a building there yet? That's just a levy camp. So these are still not what we want. To see if it's now become available in here. No, still nothing there. Not enough for us to be able to get what we need to go and get the better units. But it's a great little game. So anyway, I hope that I've sort of done a reasonable job sort of showing the game. There is a link in the description, as I said at the start. There's also a link it's been stickied in the comments if you're on YouTube. I think we've sort of covered the basics anyway, and it is one of these games that you like. If I start to now go back through that message system, I'll just finish off with that again. So if I go and open up all of the message systems, we'll now see there's 44 messages there. If I go through historically, there's 240 messages going back through the various turns. So we've got all sorts of different things happening. And again, I can sort of filter these foreign messages. There's 523 messages where I can start to see different aspects. Like this was actually, like the battle's been fought in Reims between Campaign and Blois. And so if I go to that one, it's going to then show me that there was a combat here some time ago. And from that one, so Blois destroyed peasant militia, light militia, etc., etc. So we're starting to we can start to see what goes on in a much, much broader sense. This is actually where the immersion in the game is very, very cool. So Neves was raided by Bourbon. This one here, we've got heretics are being formed, sort of along the Rhine, or, close to the Rhine. Heretics back in through here as well, religious agitators in Dortmund. So we've got, again, by using this filter system, you can see a lot of what's going on around the place. It's just with chopping and changing these filters allows you to really have a close look at the whole, basically pretty much the whole game, really, to be able to sort of see how everything is performing, which is great. And of course, if we decide that we wanted to play as someone different, we can then just go back into here and go to change faction. Choose to abandon the current faction, select a new faction, just go yes. I can then just go and choose, like, where are we up to at this point in time? Who do we want to be? We know that Tuscany is actually in a pretty bad position. It's Pisa, that's Genoa, it's Tuscany. There it is. If you go and choose them, Let's go and click on OK. So we're actually struggling here. So we're actually starting to go backwards. Yeah, so we would inherit some big problems in this one here, because they're at war with so many different groups. But just go and get rid of that one as an example. So there's a lot to like about this game. Ongoing war against Verona, Arles, Franche-Comté, this Savoy. God, so many different wars. Yeah, Bavaria, the whole lot. So yeah, so that's actually not good anyway. So they're really struggling. So they're not going to last very well. Yeah, really having a poor time of it. What's this guy here? Poor diplomat. That makes perfect sense. But you can go and pick and choose any faction you like to sort of pick it up. Falkenstein Fortress Friday is next stream. It will be tomorrow, yes. Will be next time. Hi, Sketic, how you going? Yeah, so anyway, it's a. I hope that I've done enough to sort of show the scope of the game, and like it's one of these games you're really only scratching the surface, but there's so much to like about it. And there's so much. You've got a lot of choice in how you actually approach the game. It does play differently every time you play it. Like it's not going to play exactly the same. Some things are sort of set, like with buildings. Some buildings are set in stone, but some of them are random as well. It's just an awesome game. Anyway, guys, going to leave it there. So thanks for watching. So big and saying I like this new stream time. Normally I can't. This is normally my working time, but today I took the day off work to do this stream. So anyway, that's where we are. So Zenix saying this game is great. Thanks for streaming it. Yeah, no, it is a great game. Great game. But now that with the new update as well, just be aware even if you don't get the DLC, the new update is a game changer. It really is the best update that this game, or even Empires, has ever had. It's by a mile. There's just so much in it, and have a read of the dev diaries for it. It's just awesome what they've actually done, or what Pocus, the developer, has actually done. It pretty much is Pocus is the main guy that sort of puts it all together. So anyway, guys, thanks for watching. I'll catch you next time.